All right, so this stream is going to be about the state of Destiny 2. The Destiny 2 player count is probably the worst that it has ever been. But what really sparked my interest in this subject was a video by Astacross, because there's an interesting theory going around by one such person who really struggles with fact-finding and investigation. It's very difficult for them, but they seem to think that this is not a Bungie problem, this is a PlayStation problem, which is kind of interesting in light of the facts and in light of the history and in light of the timeline that led to this point. So I thought what we would do is spend some time looking into the actual facts and looking into what led us here, as opposed to just bloviating and blaming PlayStation in an abysmally written piece. So we're going to watch Astacross's video. We're going to look at some articles. I'm going to end Morning Coffee and bring folks over. If you guys want to find Morning Coffee later, it'll be in the members only playlist as an unlisted video. That is there for you. So if you're not here in the morning, then you're missing out, all right? You're missing out on that talk. You're missing out on the conversation. If you want to submit questions, you can submit them now with the question command or the Q command. If you're watching this later, make sure and hit the like button. There's a lot to come over here, and the reason I wanted to do this is I covered Destiny for 5 years, and I have not played it for 5 years, but I've been watching the game from afar. I've watched Pete Parsons talk about driving the company into the red. I watched them showcase an alpha in Marathon, which has been in development since roughly 2018, and I also watched them basically get purchased by Sony and was given an extra $1 billion in talent retention so that people didn't leave. I also watched PlayStation basically absorb 200 plus people that would have been laid off. I also watched theories come out about the fact that like Bungie would have been in financial dire straits if it were not for the acquisition. So I thought it was interesting in light of all of those facts and in light of all those things that happened that anybody would think that this is somehow a PlayStation problem. Now, this is not me defending PlayStation, but more about blaming Bungie. Bungie is the problem. They were literally acquired in a way that they retained their independence, and they've been doing all of these things in that context. They've been doing all that in the context of they are the ones making the decisions. They have independent sort of jurisdiction over their operations. Well, not anymore. As far as we can tell, they are now essentially being turned into a PlayStation studio. And that is when things are probably going to turn around. Many people are hoping that there is some sort of Destiny 3 announcement or Destiny 3 something. And I have continued to say that the path forward for Bungie is to no longer be financially dependent upon Destiny 2. And essentially, they got to go hat in hand to PlayStation and say, we need you to fund Destiny 3. That's their only path forward. I think Marathon's going to be a failure. I don't think it's going to generate enough revenue to save the company or to keep the company going. That just doesn't seem possible, given the game and where it sits and what the public thinks of it. I just don't think they're going to get enough momentum, even if it's moderately successful, which seems incredibly unlikely. Even if it's moderately successful, I don't think it's going to be enough to support a company of that size. So I want to talk to the audience now, and we're going to get to the reactions shortly. There'll be links below to the original content. Like if I react to somebody's video, I'm going to link to it, like support Astacross. Not that he needs it, but support the original content, okay? His videos crush, his channels crush. He's very successful, and congratulations to him. But you definitely want to support the original content creators and the original videos. I usually try to wait a day or two before reacting to somebody's content so I can kind of spin up, on YouTube and do its job. And we'll also be looking at the articles and things that I think make the case that this is a Bungie problem. This is a Bungie problem. This is not a PlayStation problem. I hate this new model. I had the 13 before this one, and I liked it so much. Oh, you guys are talking about something else. I thought you were talking about the question command. Now, hang on. I've got some people to thank. We're already starting the day strong. Raphael McCoy is going to gift the first member in the public today. We're going to do a Han shot first, and so did you. Now, Alex shot first over there on Twitch during Morning Coffee. And then I got a 10 bomb coming in from Broken Earth, and it puts us at 89. We're a little behind pace, but we can catch back up today. Make sure you guys are hitting the like button as we get started. We did have some people saying that, hey, you were showing up on my homepage again today, and oh, I'm getting notifications again today. So we're hoping some of those things have been fixed. If you're ever struggling to find the content, if you're ever like, I can't find the shows, check your subscriber tab on YouTube. Get off your homepage. Sometimes that gets broken anyway, and like it's showing you weird stuff. Go to your subscriber tab or get in my Discord. You'll never miss a show if you do those things, okay? A 5 bomb comes in from Wired Rope on Twitch, and then a single comes in from Sal, and we are now exactly 5 away from 100. Thank you, boys, so much for doing that. Did I pay the one that I owed to Purple? I don't think that I did. I owe one to Purple. So make sure as you guys are piling in, you go through the ritual of pressing the like button. That does help us out immensely. Let's try to get to the first 100 likes. There's a free 250 bits every 10 subs. Really? Oh, well, that's interesting. Okay, so you guys can submit your questions right now. Get your questions submitted. I tell you what we should probably do. We should probably just jump right in to pulling up Astrocross's video. For the, we already kind of had our conversation. We kind of already had our morning coffee. We got to kind of prime the pump here. I'm probably going to periodically, when I'm reacting to his video, I'm going to pull up articles and blogs and things because investigation's hard for some people. So I'm here as a service. I'm here to help with that. I'm here to help with the difficulty. It's just so difficult to use Google to research a topic like this. And my research took me, I think, 2 minutes yesterday to track down these articles and things. But I'm here. I'm here to help. That's what I'm here to do. I know it's very difficult for some people to do that sort of investigative work because they're allergic to facts and evidence. And a 5 bomb comes in from Neo Reaper and gets us to 100. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that. But we're here to assist. We are here to assist with that. And I'm gonna have to move my camera because I am a little self-conscious putting somebody that's a lot more handsome than me on the screen, but I'm willing to get out of the way here. Okay, so Astrocross is reacting to an article from Paul Tassi, and so we're gonna take a look at this and we're gonna see what we think because it's probably one of the most abysmally written things I've ever had the displeasure of having to read. Thankfully, I did it through a video.
Paul right here. What if Sony actually invested in Bungie instead of decimating it?
I already have to stop the video because, again, if you're looking at the history of Bungie and you're looking at the current situation, I don't know how you could possibly argue that PlayStation decimated the company. Actually, let's just get started, shall we? I mean, let's just the first bit of information that I think is extremely helpful is just a super inconvenient blog here written by none other than Pete Parsons himself. And I just think this stands as a pretty strong repudiation and refutation of the idea that PlayStation is the cause of this. If you do a little quick search here, again, I know fact-finding and investigation is difficult. You just search for the word red, all right? Let's just search for the word red. Here it is. Yeah, this is just a wonderful thing to read. Our rapid expansion ran headlong into broad economic slowdown, a sharp downturn in the games industry, our quality miss with Destiny 2 Lightfall, and the need to give both the final shape and Marathon the time needed to ensure both projects deliver at the quality our players expected and deserve. We were overly ambitious. Our financial safety margins were subsequently exceeded, and we began running in the red. You see what this is? See, this would be called causality. This is what actually has caused Bungie to be in the state that they're in. It was the cause for the layoffs. And very conveniently, this is probably something that people have forgotten. Not only did they drive the company into the red with all of these extra ambitions and all these spin-up incubation projects that have nothing to do with PlayStation. This was all done independent as Bungie was acquired as an independent subsidiary of PlayStation. So they did all this on their own. When those people were laid off, over 200 of those people were absorbed into SIE. So again, to argue that they've eviscerated Bungie is so factually incorrect, it's embarrassing, all right? It is embarrassing that has been typed. None of the current situations or problems at Bungie or with Destiny have anything to do with PlayStation, okay? This egregious type of reporting, I think, should be called out. Number one, because people have been laid off and lost their jobs. Number two, there has been a lot of toxicity at the company, a lot of cover-ups, a lot of misconduct, as evidenced by what happened with Christopher Barrett being fired for being a predator. So it's really interesting to see suddenly now we're going to claim, well, all of these woes and all of these problems can be laid at the foot of PlayStation. And we're also forgetting that when Bungie was acquired by PlayStation, there was an extra $1.5 billion spent for employee retention bonuses so that people would not quit. So they overpaid on the asking price of the company in order to keep people there. And then when the company was seen as not financially viable and in the red and they had to lay people off, SIE was there standing ready to absorb people. Not only have they done that, they've spun up a brand new studio, LFG, and handed them one of those projects, I believe it is Gummy Bears. So if you look at all of those facts and all those pieces of evidence and you conclude that PlayStation has eviscerated Bungie, again, I think this is rich coming from someone who doesn't know how to do investigative work or fact finding, and this isn't the first time this has happened.
Okay, Paul. All right. It's going to be like that today. Hold on, let's pull this up.
I love how Cross is instantly smirking, like, you can't seriously be thinking that this is Sony's fault. This is PlayStation's fault.
Sony bought Bungie for $3.6 billion with entirely unreasonable expectations.
Yeah, so we have to stop again and remember that there's also reports out there that people at the company said that Bungie was facing financial situations that were untenable and that PlayStation basically saved them from financial ruin. Like, they were on the cusp of financial trouble, and that's why they entered into this agreement with PlayStation. Also, the expectations were outlined ahead of time in the acquisition description and in the budgetary meeting and the shareholders meeting at PlayStation. They said that they're going to help us spearhead the Center for Live Service of Excellence, and they're also, going to be doing all the other stuff that they're creating. So these expectations were lined out ahead of time. Like, posturing as if Bungie was somehow tricked or duped into this deal, like they didn't know that these expectations were given of them. Like, this is like a kid being told to be home at 10, and when he gets home at 11, he's like, well, those were unreasonable expectations. It's like, you agreed to those things. Like, what's the deal here? How can you possibly act like Bungie's some unwitting victim here? Like, this is just embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing writing.
The plan, it seems, was the assumption that A, Destiny 2 was given in terms of printing money indefinitely. B, whatever Bungie made next, namely Marathon, was sure to be a breakout hit. And C, Bungie could mentor a half a dozen big Sony single-player studios in terms of how to make and run a successful live service game.
Okay, now hang on. I want to have this on screen, okay? The plan, it seems, was the assumption that. And then this is just a bunch of statements that are hyperbolically charged in order to misrepresent the situation. Destiny was given, was that Destiny 2 was a given in terms of printing money indefinitely. Okay? I don't see that anywhere in the agreement. I don't see that anywhere in the expectations. I don't see PlayStation ever saying, oh yeah, you should be able to print money indefinitely. Also, did you happen to forget the little blog thing that we just read from Pete Parsons where he said, yeah, I drove the company into the red because we had too many things going on. We spun up too many projects. I basically thinned the company out and we hurt our cash cow. Like, one of the leading causes of Destiny 2 having a lowered demand and lower financial profitability was their own doing. They did this to themselves. They spun up so many incubation projects, they drove the company into the red. How can a CEO come out and say, yeah, this is what we did, these are why all these people have to be laid off, and your interpretation is now that, well, they expected Destiny to indefinitely print money. The second thing he says here is whatever Bungie made next, namely Marathon, was sure to be a breakout hit. Again, I don't understand why this is an assumption. Like, if Bungie says we're building a game and we think it's going to be good, why would you be like, oh, what an unreasonable expectation that PlayStation expected it to be a hit? I mean, Bungie certainly has a track record with both Halo and Destiny of drawing a lot of attention to themselves and their content, and then that content arguably doing very well. Like, this doesn't seem like an unreasonable expectation. And then C, Bungie can mentor half a dozen big Sony single-player studios in terms of how to make and run successful live service games. Yeah, okay, again, this was an expectation that was trotted out when they were purchased. That it can't be unreasonable if you say, hey, we are wanting to spin up the Center for Live Service Excellence, and we want you to basically help our live service games with analysis and projected livelihood. Like, can these things survive? This is not unreasonable. This is something that was actually spelled out before they were purchased. To call this unreasonable, I think, again, is just this posturing as if Bungie is some unwitting, stupid victim here, like they didn't know what was expected of them. Like, listen, man, stop standing in front of this company and acting like they're blameless. They are one of the most toxic, most drunk on hubris, self-righteous companies I think I've ever seen. Like, why would you stand in front of them now and act like, oh yeah, they were just so unwitting and these expectations were so unreasonable? Like, this is actually, like, it's just a literal joke to insinuate any of this. Thank you so much for the Member Plus renewal, Royal Duck, bumping us to 101. I bumped it twice, my bad. 102. Here we go. Let's keep watching.
It's insane to think that they believed that would all play out exactly as expected. Pete must have been a hell of a salesman. All right, he didn't get all those cores by accident, okay? Hey, it was well known that Destiny 2's huge Light and Darkness saga was about to end with the final shape, and sapping resources from the game would result in less content, and of course, fewer players thereafter.
Well, now, hang on. Again, let's look at the claim. It was well known that Destiny 2's huge Light and Darkness saga was about to end with the final shape. Okay, yes, but Bungie is always selling. They're always selling. They're always selling on the brightest days are ahead, right? Nobody thought the Light and Darkness saga coming to the end would mean you were going to have less resources for the game and less content. See, again, read this and really think about it. Like the claim that, like, oh, it was well known that this was going to happen. Really? Where? Where was it ever talked about? It was well known. Bungie walked out and said, yeah, guys, after the Light and Dark saga's over, we're gonna take resources away from the game and give you less content. Like, and again, you've got to go back to when this acquisition was being brokered and when it was being discussed. Bungie's not walking out in the public and saying, just so everybody knows, yeah, we're about to put the game on cruise control. Now, what happens here is I think headcanon of the community becomes fact. There were many people in the community that assumed the game was going to enter sort of like cruise control end of life, but that was the community theorizing. It wasn't publicly stated. It was never signaled by Bungie that that was going to happen. Now, after the acquisition, Bungie trots out their new plan for content, and it was pretty obvious that it was going to be lighter. It wasn't going to be the same. This is when they were essentially spinning up too many incubation projects, and they were essentially putting the company into the red. So if you say, when did PlayStation acquire Bungie? What year was it? So it's 2022. Right. So they acquired in 2022, and then Pete comes out and says, yeah, in 2023, we put the company in the red. We spun up too many projects. See? You see what I'm saying? Like, look at the actual timeline of events. How could any of this be blamed on anybody other than Bungie at this point? Luke Smith walked out right after it launched and said they'd be talking about the future. Yeah, they made it clear that the game was having a future, not that it was going to get put on, life support. Guys, make sure and hit the like button. Try to get us 11 more likes. Try to get us those first 100 likes.
B, regardless of Marathon's current or future quality, expecting that any multiplayer game, especially one that's a new, quote unquote, new IP, can most definitely explode into the market. It's not.
Okay, again, you got to watch what's being stated here. Expecting any multiplayer game, especially one that's new, that can most definitely explode into the market is not remotely reflected by reality. Again, he is projecting something on the PlayStation that has never been stated. They've never stated that they expected Marathon to explode into the market. PlayStation made it clear they were going to be placing a lot of bets with live service games. Marathon was a Bungie-initiated project that started as early as 2018, okay? This was not something that PlayStation went to Bungie and said, yeah, you better make Marathon, it better be awesome, we expect it to explode. This was something that Bungie birthed. And if you want to look at Marathon and all of its woes, I mean, the art theft, the fact that they showcased an alpha, the fact that internally the leadership wasn't listening to the employees who said it needed PvE, but surely this is all PlayStation's fault. Again, when you actually do investigative work and you actually look at the facts and the claims from the studio and the people actually at the dadgum company, you would never come to the conclusion that, like, PlayStation was expecting this multiplayer game to explode onto the market. And mind you, a multiplayer game that's been in development since before the acquisition. Again, this is a Bungie problem. This is Bungie hubris on display. They thought they could make an extraction shooter and say from the makers of Destiny and Halo, and that would be enough to sell it. They sat down and did a showcase of an alpha. I can never stress that enough. Like, can you imagine any other company walking out like they're the cock of the walk and showcasing an alpha. They showcased an alpha. That's what they think of themselves. They think their crap don't stink, and internally, it's clear why. They weren't even listening to the feedback from the people at the company that were helping build a 10-year live service game in Destiny, and they're like, you're going to need something different with Marathon. It's going to need PvE. They were ignored. The old guard, the old uniforms were ignoring the people that were saying these things. But somehow this is a PlayStation problem.
Remotely reflected by reality. And see, there is no magic button in terms of how to make a successful live service item. In the most famous example, Bungie consulted with Naughty Dog about their Factions multiplayer game. They explained to them the type of commitment it would take to make and maintain something like that, and Naughty Dog just didn't want to do it in favor of their own bread and butter. So it was canceled, and Bungie was blamed despite consulting the exact way they're supposed to. And
yeah, and I've always, this is probably the one part of the article that isn't terrible. Okay, this blog that he wrote, this is the only part that's not terrible. I've always maintained that that had nothing to do with Bungie being blamed, and Bungie being like labeled with canceling The Last of Us Online. That's not what happened. That is not what happened. Naughty Dog came to the conclusion on their own that they did not want to turn their studio into a live service studio because they wanted to build games like Intergalactic. This has been corroborated by Shuhei Yoshida in an interview where he said they wanted to continue to make games like Intergalactic, so they opted to not do this project. And blaming Bungie is absolutely stupid because they did what they were supposed to do. They went in and they educated a studio on what it takes to do live service, and that studio came to the conclusion that they did not want to do it. If you guys are just tuning in, we're talking about the Destiny 2 player count, the state of Bungie and Destiny, and an article that Astacross is reacting to, so I'm now reacting to it, that is essentially trying to claim that this is all PlayStation's fault.
Conclusion in the wider market has always been, don't force talented single-player game studios to make multiplayer games, and this was aligned with that.
And this again, that the paragraph immediately falls off the rails because, you know, the sentiment has been don't force talented single-player game studios to make multiplayer games. And again, we have it on very good authority. None of these studios were forced to do live service games. PlayStation said, we are budgeting funds for live service games. If you would like to receive that funding, pitch us your live service games. Bend had a game that they wanted to make, and they pitched it, and they got approval. They were not forced to do this. So even in a paragraph where he actually gets something right, he immediately gets it wrong. So what's good, Jez? Destiny was never good. Listen, man. Listen. You and I, we're on good terms, Jez. I will fight you. There were really good times in Destiny, okay? I will fight you, sir. I hope you're well, Jez. Thank you for the 10 spot.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Naughty Dog is good at what they do. Single-player driven games. That's what they should do. You know, Sony got into this real big push. They wanted to have, you know, I can't remember how many live service games, but
it was 12, Astacross. It was 12. I don't like making you look silly, okay? I don't. You're handsome. I'm sorry. But it was 12. They wanted 12 live service games by like 2026? And I remember I told people at the time, I said, half of those games aren't going to make it. They're just not going to make it. There's just no way. That's too many. And I got a lot of heat for saying that. I was like, most of these are going to get canceled. There's just no stinking way. And I think Fair Games is probably on the chopping block next. Marathon doesn't have a dadgum shot. And we all know what happened with Concord. So I think what PlayStation needs to do is what they did with Helldivers. Go to a studio that knows how to do it and have them do it. And then you're not purchasing the studio and you're not purchasing the IP. You're not taking on all that risk like what they're doing with Arc Systems with Marvel Toko and Fighting Souls. That's going to be a very successful live service game as far as we can tell. And PlayStation doesn't own the studio. They don't own the IP or the property. They're publishing it, right? They're going to get some good exclusivity out of it. It'll probably end up on the Switch and the Xboxes in the future. But in the initial stages, it's going to be good for PlayStation, right? Yeah, I'm not coming to WoW, Jez.
They wanted live service after live service, and Bungie was going to be the guiding hand for all those live service games. And we saw this in the, the panel there from Justin Truman years ago, where he essentially talked about the almost death of Destiny and how they made their comeback and essentially all the ways in which you should and you shouldn't develop a live service game.
And I got news for y'all. Remember that chart that he shows in that presentation with the player numbers getting low? They are internally at Bungie. they have got to be in absolute crisis mode at this point. Like, if there aren't like red sirens going off all throughout the building, I would be shocked. They are absolutely in crisis mode right now. The numbers are so low and so bad. There is absolutely no way that they are not in an absolute crisis right now. And we're obviously going to have to see, what ends up happening with it. But it's bad right now, boys. It's bad.
It's not really working out too well for them right now. But
I agree.
Bungie has endured cut after cut, even in the wake of a successful make-or-break launch like the Final Shape, which put up player count records after 10 years of the series' existence. Instead of continuing to drive momentum from there, Bungie has been slashed multiple times to the point where the amount of content the much smaller team can put out is not pleasing its player base, which is fleeing rapidly.
Let's conveniently forget also in this almost like a hit piece here to make it seem like Bungie's innocent, that those slashes were Bungie initiated. Pete Parsons said this publicly. These layoffs were initiated by Bungie. And as we already looked, the causality was they put the company into the red. So if you're upset about the slashes, if you're upset about the size of the company and where it sits right now, it is because of Bungie. It has nothing to do with PlayStation. PlayStation purchased them and had an extra $1.5 billion in employee retention. Like, they didn't want people leaving. Like, they literally set it up so that they would keep people as long as possible, and over 200 people have been absorbed into SIE or the spin-up studio LFG.
And the $3.6 billion deal was structured so a number of executives or long-serving Bungie vets would get millions, if not tens of millions, when their part of the deal vested after a few years. That may be fair given their history and the size of the scale, but it has also bred complacency, which is apparently apparent within the company as they just sat around and waited for the payouts.
Okay, and whose fault is that? Like, whose fault is that? How could you possibly write this and think that, like, there's credibility, like there's intellectual credibility to the position that this is PlayStation's fault? PlayStation offers more than the company is worth, an extra $1.5 billion in player in consumer employee retention, and then the leadership gets lazy and complacent. How is that anybody's fault other than Bungie? That's Bungie. That's their DNA. That is their self-righteous attitude. That's their hubris on display. None of this has anything to do with PlayStation. That's Bungie. I don't know how you could type that paragraph and be like, yeah, this is a PlayStation issue. It's definitely not PlayStation's fault. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is not about defending PlayStation. This is about looking at Bungie, man. Bungie has been like this for so long. Their response to this deal was to get complacent. That reflects their character. That's the kind of people that they are. Come on.
Let me just say, from what I was told, some people in leadership, after the deal was done with Sony, they just stopped interacting with the teams. They pretty much pieced the hell out. And they waited for their dates for when their stocks would vest, and they bounced. They cashed out, man. There ain't no other way to look at it. Some of the best leaders.
Yeah, and that right there, I guess, what would the alternative have been? What would the alternative have been? To, like, pay them less money? To make the deal less appealing or less lucrative? Like, what was PlayStation supposed to do? Like, Doctor Strange see the future? Like, well, if we give them these money and these bonuses, they're gonna phone it in and become lazy and do bad work? Like, why do you think in the early stages, in the wake of this acquisition, you had Hiroki Totoki talking about accountability at the company with the leadership? Now you know why Hiroki Totoki said that. It was like, this company is a joke. They get this nice acquisition deal, and their response is to phone it in and be lazy and complacent and not work. He's like, we need accountability in the leadership there. That's why I think they're now being referred to as a PlayStation studio. I think PlayStation's going to walk in and restructure and get these people out of here. You know, it's unbelievable that you could honestly think any of this has anything to do with anybody other than Bungie.
Bungie has had lately were not veterans, but given the state of everything, most have moved on rather quickly. So I think what he's really talking about right here is the team that led Final Shape. Some of those individuals you saw come, Joe being one of them, but they came forward, or essentially departed after the Final Shape. Who wouldn't do that? All right, listen, man. And let me just say, some of these guys got, when I say millions of dollars, we're talking like 50 million plus, okay? You can take your payouts, but there's no reason why you should leave a fucking dumpster fire behind you. You see where I'm coming from? Why not take your payouts and still get it there, keep cooking alongside the team, keep pulling your sleeves up and doing the work? For whatever you want to say about Tyson Green, I know a lot of people are not a fan of Tyson Green right now because a lot is being put on him. A lot of the blame is being put on him about Edge of Fate. And yes, he is the game director, but he's been there for decades. And I'm sure he's got a massive payout, but the man gets in there and has been rolling up his sleeves every expansion.
I feel bad for anybody that's doing that, by the way. I feel bad for anybody at the company that's doing that because, like, it's probably like dragging a corpse behind you. Like, it's just, the morale at the company's got to be terrible, right? The motivation, the energy, it has to be absolutely draining. And you also are staring down the barrel of just continued decreased revenue, continued decrease in, engagement. And also, I mean, we have no idea what the status and the likelihood of Marathon, even succeeding is. Like, it's like I don't have any confidence in that game doing anything in the market of substance. So to me, it's like if there are people that are actually going in and doing the work and trying to make this thing happen, I genuinely feel bad for those people. It's like that's got to be absolutely terrible to be like, listen, we got to make the best of this. We got to make the most of this. And they're dealing with, complacency and leaders that don't want to do anything.
I put it to you like this. As many times as we've been to Bungie, I've seen pretty much the same individuals outside of the few that have departed, but pretty much the same individuals, except for all the folks that were very high up on the totem board, very high up in leadership, who pieced the fuck out after the deal with Sony. But
I really appreciate them bleeping out the F words. Thank you for that, Cross. Ashton says, according to Sweatcicle, Tyson's also a big part of the problem. Dude allegedly said he doesn't care if the players are ticks so long as they make money. I would want to know the context of when Tyson said that and why. If they're absolutely right now in a tailspin and he's basically saying, listen, the most important thing right now, we gotta generate money. Like if he's saying that within the context of an emergency situation, I could have some grace to be like, I understand why somebody might say that. Like, listen, we can't focus on players being angry right now. We got to make money. Like, you know what I'm saying? I could hear somebody say that and like not mean it in a disparaging way, but almost like we are in a crisis right now. We can't be concerned with the players being upset. That's not something we can fix in a quick meeting or a quick update. We got to figure out how to make money so that then we can start to focus on the players being angry. Does that make sense? Like, focusing on the players being angry doesn't really matter if you're facing utter disaster. Like if the ship is going to go down, people complaining about the taste of the food in the ship doesn't matter. The ship's about to go down. Does that make sense? So I'm not saying what he said is fine. I'm saying I can understand the context of why somebody would say that right now at the company. It would make perfectly good sense to be like, we're in an utter crisis. Like player dissatisfaction right now is not a priority. We've got to make money, because if not, there won't be a game to be mad about, right? He's been radio silent. I would want to know the reasons why he's radio silent. Like, what's going on at the company? I think internally it's probably just absolutely disastrous. They probably can't get stuff done. They probably can't get stuff. They're probably not hitting deliverable schedules because they've got leaders not doing anything. Street Shadow, thank you for 19 months as a member. One thing to add about the Sony takeover: the new studio lead was not represented. Was not presented as a CEO, but as a studio head. Common title in Sony first party. Yeah, and somebody said that they played the Marathon, the recent testing of Marathon, and it says a PlayStation Studio in the front of the game when you open it.
Let me just say it like this. I never met Pete once. And I don't know if I'll ever meet Pete. I don't know if, we're at a...
There's no reason to want to meet Pete. Pete's old school Microsoft. He's just a corporate head. He doesn't give a frick about these games. He doesn't care about any of this. He was in it for the opportunism and the money. He's a corporate guy. His history with Bungie and Microsoft is very clear. If you've seen any of the documentaries on the game, you ain't no reason to want to meet Pete. Not at all. You talk about a corporate-minded individual. That's Pete Parsons.
Bitch in the future, and Pete might be there. But at Bungie itself, the CEO, I never met once. Whereas if you go to like Digital Extreme or something like that, you'll run into Steve, man. I mean, immediately. And this is the same with a lot of different companies. game development companies. Whether anyone wants to admit it or not, Bungie is still Sony's best shot at making a mark in the live service space. Yes, the biggest success recently is Helldivers 2, but Arrowhead is bailing from the Sony partnership for their next game, which they will self-publish.
And again, we're using language here to convey something that's not true. Arrowhead's not bailing. Arrowhead said they'll be happy to work with PlayStation again in the future, and they decided on their next project they would do their own thing because they made so much money, right? That is a very, very common strategy with companies that have the success that Arrowhead has had with Helldivers 2. They decide to do something independent because it's better. Like, they like it. Like, why do you think so many studios push for that independence? Why do you think Bungie pushed for their own independence? It's preferable, right? It doesn't mean that, like, they're bailing from their Sony partnership. Again, that's phrased in a way to make it seem as though like Arrowhead doesn't want to work with PlayStation, because this article is written in a way to convey that like Sony is the problem. In saying Bungie is their best shot at making their mark in the live service space, again, Gran Turismo 7 is very successful. MLB The Show is very successful. Helldivers 2 has been ridiculously successful, and Marvel Tokone Fighting Souls is going to likely be very successful. So I don't disagree with the idea that like Bungie is their best shot. I would replace that word with Destiny. I think Destiny is Sony's best shot with live service, and it'd be Destiny 3. And I also think it would need to be fully funded by Sony and not something that then is financially dependent on Destiny 2, because Destiny 2 is just not financially viable anymore with the size of the company. There's no way you can make enough money with Destiny's current numbers to keep this company going. There's just no possible way. This article is so much projection and using words to make conclusions, it feels disingenuous. It's written by somebody who's allergic to fact-finding and investigation. It's not surprising at all. I did 2 minutes of research yesterday and found ample amount of evidence that the state of Bungie and Destiny right now is Bungie's fault. It has nothing to do with PlayStation. I did 2 minutes of research. It's not difficult. You go read the blogs, you go read the articles, you go read the situations that led to this moment, and it's like, I don't know why anybody would think this has anything to do with PlayStation. Yeah, but PlayStation's basically put them, they saved them from financial ruin, paid a $1.5 billion bonus to keep people from quitting, and have absorbed over 200 people from the layoffs into SIE or spun up a new studio. Like, how is that eviscerating the company? Like, they're basically keeping the company alive while also keeping many of the people employed that would have been laid off because of Pete Parsons' bad leadership.
Sony has run into a wall after wall with its live offerings. Concord is the biggest failure of a game launch of all time, no exaggeration. There is almost zero chance something like Fair Games is actually releasing with that studio falling apart. So yes, almost by default, Bungie is still the best.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with these statements. I mean, generally speaking, yes. Concord's the biggest failure of all time, and yeah, Fair Games is a non-starter in my opinion. The lead person left after a playtest. Like, this all looks terrible. It all looks terrible. I mean, but again, your PlayStation's not going to back down from their live service efforts because they've had success with Gran Turismo and MLB The Show and Helldivers 2, and the projections for Marvel Tokone Fighting Souls are probably very, very strong. So again, they're not going to stop. Even if Fair Games never sees the light of day, which I don't think that it should. I think they should cancel it. I think it's a dead horse. It's not a lame horse. It's a dead horse. That's a non-starter. That game's going nowhere. And I personally think that Marathon shouldn't see the light of day either. I think it's just going to be another blemish on PlayStation's live service efforts, because what people are going to do is they're going to do this. They're going to do what Paul Tassi is doing with this article. They're going to link it to PlayStation, right? Marathon is all Bungie's fault, and it will be laid at the feet of PlayStation. 100%. If it fails, that's who will be blamed, and that's who's going to be associated with it. Now the people that have been following it and have been following Destiny and have been following Bungie, they'll know who the blame lays, on. But to the watching world, to the gaming public, it'll be another failed PlayStation live service game.
I put it to you like this, because people have been saying for a long time, Sony needs to take over Destiny, and this is the thought process that I've heard. I'm not even gonna say no one at Bungie said this to me. Okay, so let me just hear me out on this. Sony can take over Destiny, but who the fuck is going to dev it? You know where I'm coming from? You still gotta have someone dev the shit.
And this is something I've talked about many, many times. And because I agree with him, right? I agree with Astacross on this. Who wants to build that? Who wants to work at Bungie right now? Imagine trying to get talent to come work at that company, okay? What I think you'd have to do is you'd have to establish new leadership, inject that company with a whole lot better morale. And I think that would happen when you gut the leadership and put new people into positions of leadership. But I think what you'd have to do is you have to say, listen, we are allocating this amount of money to fund the development of Destiny 3. If anybody at Bungie would like to work at one of our other studios, let us know. We'll see if we can't find a place for you. And then what PlayStation should do is put the word out to all their other studios and say, does anybody want to come help build Destiny 3? There could be people at Guerrilla right now chomping at the bit to work on another shooter. There could be people at Bend that are upset their live service game didn't come to fruition. There was a recent interview with a guy from Bend, and he said it wasn't because it was a bad game that it got canceled. He said it took us too long to have deliverables. Like, they had good ideas. It wasn't the game sucked. It was like it was taking too long to develop. There could be people at Bend right now that are like, man, I'd love to go work on a Destiny 3 and get fresh blood in the room, get fresh ideas in the room, get the old uniforms out and get some new ideas in there. That's the only way Destiny 3 can come. If you just hand them a bunch of money and put new leadership into position, I think you're just going to get another lame duck. You're going to get another lame duck release. You've got to rejuvenate the studio, get new talent in there, and let people leave if they don't want to do it. Like, I completely understand why Pete Parsons and the leadership decided to have all these incubation projects. They looked at the history of the game and they said, we don't want to do this for another 10 years. It's really, really difficult to maintain Destiny. It's expensive. It's grueling. It's hard. It's stressful. Okay. They didn't want to do it again. They were trying to build themselves bridges away from their game. Ironic, given that they, unjustly banned me from their game in 2021, and I had to build a bridge into variety coverage, and it was incredibly stressful and scary, and it hurts your finances, and you're trying to provide for your family. Well, now the shoe's on the other foot, Bungie. You got to figure out how to build a bridge away from your own dadgum game, and it didn't work. It just pushed themselves into the red. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if they're going to build a Destiny 3, it's going to have to be funded by PlayStation. And you're going to have to procure talent from your other studios more than likely. And also let people leave Bungie if they don't want to work on it. You don't want people at Bungie working on a Destiny 3 that don't want to work on Destiny 3. That's a terrible idea. That's an absolutely terrible idea.
So somebody can go in there and lay everybody off. But if you're going to run a live service game or make a D3, if that's something you want to do, you still got to have someone cook the shit. Or they can use AI. Oh, shit. That could be the thing.
Why'd you say that, Cross? Edit that out. Why didn't you edit that out in post?
That could be the thing that's going to happen with everyone. Obviously, Destiny 2 is still declining in quality to this day, but at least a large chunk of that is the slashing of resources and revenue demands from the game. Fewer devs make less content. Decimated QA means more bugs more often, and overall, the lack of any breathing room for Destiny to take a break and come back with a game that would be a success for several years down the road. Destiny.
Yeah, and again, if you spend 20 seconds doing research into why resources have been slashed and the revenue demands of the game have gone down, those were all caused by Bungie, not PlayStation. Whether you want to look at when they did the incubation projects and took bandwidth away from Destiny 2, or you want to look at the layoffs that were caused by the leadership and driving the company to the red, those were all Bungie-caused events. None of that had anything to do with PlayStation.
3 is a huge issue. Sony gives Naughty Dog 5 years to make a new 40-hour game. Why does Destiny have to be ground into dust as a series with no time to regroup and truly evolve?
And again, who is saying that that's happening? Like, this juxtaposition here, right? You give Naughty Dog 5 years to make a new 40-hour game. Why does Destiny have to be ground into dust as a series with no time to regroup and truly evolve? None of this is a PlayStation-initiated reality. It isn't. Like, I don't know why you would type that in a blog that you've written where you're trying to insinuate that PlayStation is the problem here. This is an ever-present problem for Destiny and has always been an ever-present problem. They are cash-dependent on the game while trying to make the new stuff. So they got to make the current stuff relevant and fun and exciting and not glitchy and bad and running like crap, while also developing a new game or a new expansion. This has been a problem with Destiny and Bungie for 10 years. Paul should know this because he's covered the game for a decade. Okay, I covered the game for half of a decade. This was always a problem. Always. You have to maintain the current game while building the new thing. You have to maintain the current game while building the next game. That's not something that was created by PlayStation. It's one of the biggest challenges of any live service game, not just Destiny. It's a challenge of any live service game. You have to work on the very thing that generates the cash in order to maintain your cash flow so that then you can fund the new big thing that you want to build. You're essentially robbing Peter to pay Paul in the midst with your bandwidth is what you're doing. And that's always going to be a problem. That's always going to be a challenge, and it's always going to be a difficulty. This is why for a couple of years now I have said the path forward for Bungie is to no longer be financially dependent on Destiny 2, get Destiny 3 funded from PlayStation so that they're funded, by a publishing deal, and stop working on Destiny 2. It's got to go dark. It has to go dark. It does. You've got to just basically put it on fumes, and that way that the bulk of the studio is working on the next game. That's the only way forward. They don't have another path. Marathon will not be lucrative enough to support this studio. It simply won't.
Paul, I get where you're coming from, but I have to just bring this up. Sony was expecting industry leaders in the live service space to come in and to guide their other projects, Concord included, and they were expecting Marathon to be ready to go out potentially by 2024. Disregard the art scandals or anything like that. Like, don't get me wrong, the art scandal is a big deal, and it is a big deal. I think that was probably one of the biggest contributing reasons to why the game got delayed. But let's be real, guys, it needed to be delayed. If that game had rolled out in September, it would have just got clobbered, dude. Those numbers would have looked awful. I'm not going to say it would have been Concord awful, but it would have been awful. And then Arc Raiders would have cleaned it up here with its launch coming very soon. Probably at the time of this release of this video, Arc Raiders is already out. Now, as for Marathon...
Yeah, and Arc Raiders is absolutely crushing it because they have won the crowd. I've made that analogy to Gladiator, right? He says if you win the crowd, you win your freedom, and Arc Raiders won the crowd. Marathon did not win the crowd. Marathon won the crowd's ire and hate, and they are largely, despised and looked down on. And I think that is death. I think the Gladiator movie is quite literally the analogy for live service games. You either win the crowd and win your freedom, or you're murdered. Like, that's basically it. There's no in between. It's either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And I think Marathon got the thumbs down from the public, and I don't know if that can be reversed. I think first impressions really, really stick, and the game is almost surely destined to be a non-starter and to fail pretty miserably. So, again, that has been in development at the company since 2018, and as far as we know, it was originally probably part of Destiny 3. Anon the 9 said that Destiny 3 was going to have PvE areas, and Dr. Lupo was reportedly at the company in 2018 testing something that eventually became Marathon. And I think that's what he was testing. I think he was testing environments that they were considering putting in Destiny 3. And when they opted to not build Destiny 3, Marathon became an incubation project that was spun out into its own thing.
I have my doubts about its future, but Sony cannot pull another Concord here. No matter what, no matter the initial player count, Marathon has to be given time to grow, learn, evolve, and add new content over time.
Now, here's where we don't agree, right? The first part I agree with. Sony cannot pull another Concord. That's correct. So kill it now. What do you mean? No, read this sentence, okay? I just want you to read this sentence and think about this with me. Of all the things that we know about live service games, of all the things that we know about how they survive and how they thrive, he says no matter the initial player count, Marathon has to be given time to grow, learn, evolve, and add new content over time, practically contradicting the sentence right before it. If you pull another Concord, what do you mean no matter the initial player count? Concord was so low in its player count, it wasn't sustainable. There's a minimum threshold of player count for a game to even properly run so that people can get matchmaking and that people can play the dadgum game. What do you mean? Like, no matter the initial player count, if this game is as lame as a duck as Concord, there is no give it time to grow, learn, and evolve. No, you're done. You're over. You've lost. If you don't get a player base from jump to come in and play and keep things going, it's over. You're absolutely cooked. And there is no way in this current landscape of saturated free-to-play live service games and successful live service games like Helldivers and Arc Raiders that charge money, there's no way Marathon has a shot at $40. Even if they make it free, I don't think it has a shot. I think what he's saying is that they need to allow Marathon to run longer than Concord. I think personally that Marathon will have a much higher player count than Concord. Right, okay, sure, but I'm taking issue with the statement no matter the initial player count. If your initial player count is abysmal, even if it's higher than Concord, but if it's abysmal and then quickly drops over the course of 1 or 2 weeks, there is no context where you've got to be given time to grow, learn, and evolve. We've seen so many other live service games. Once those player numbers start to slip, it's over. It's over. There is no rubbing the defib paddles together kapunk, and bringing the game back to life. It's over at that point. You're done. You're never going to get enough people to come back and play your game. We saw this with Anthem. We've seen this with plenty of games where they're invested, they've got good ideas, they're going to turn things around, but the money's not there. The future isn't there. Getting people to come back to a game like this is almost impossible. It's not even a Herculean effort. I think it's a Sisyphusian effort. It's like you're never going to do it. The ball's just going to keep rolling back down on you. You're never going to get over the hill. You need momentum and velocity in the early days. And if you don't have it, it's over. We've watched player counts do this. They go way up, and then they settle down to a core. They never go like up, kind of into the toilet, and then come back one day. It's almost insurmountable. Like we've seen games turn things around with like Final Fantasy XIV and Rainbow Six Siege, but that is ridiculously difficult to do. And those games largely had player bases and established fandom prior to all of that happening. You don't have that with Marathon. All you have is a bunch of people that are annoyed with the company and the art theft. I think the decision point for Marathon will be how numbers look around another playtest open beta. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. What if they put in like $200 million into it? Would you still want them to cancel now rather than see it through? Yeah. I don't care how much money you've put into it. If the game's going to come out and flop and fail, cut it. You cut your losses. You absolutely cut your losses. You're like, what are we doing here? The money it's going to take to launch it, spin up the servers, market it, push it, support it. No, that's more money wasted. It's called sunk cost fallacy. The belief that, well, we've already spent this money, we need to keep spending money. What do you mean? Every dime, every minute, every hour spent on Marathon from this point forward, in my estimation, is a waste. They should have canceled this thing back last year when the reception was so poor and they got caught stealing artwork. You should have just canceled the whole thing. It's like, this is never going to work now. Never. You can patch a boat with as much duct tape as you want. It doesn't matter. Eventually the water is going to take you under. I just don't think there's any hope for the game at all.
It's already done so between alphas, and it's easy to see potential for it to expand even beyond just the extraction genre, if given the time and resources to do so. I don't know if it's going to expand beyond the extraction genre. I think Marathon, at least from what I'm hearing from the internal playtest right now, it's leaning more into the extraction genre. And
it's an MVP. It's a minimum viable product. It's not really built for expansion. It was barely an extraction game when people played it. It was a dadgum alpha. Like there's no foundation in that game for expansion as far as we can see. It's like it's not built for that. It just isn't. I'm under NDA, but you're not wrong. Yeah, believe me, I know I'm not wrong about Marathon.
Where it's trying to be almost like an extraction light. It's going more into that. You bought Bungie for $3.6 billion, have demanded unreasonable things from them, and hacked away at their ability to build anything.
That sentence is almost entirely false. Like we've already falsified most of the statement. Yes, they bought them for $3.6 billion. I don't think they've demanded unreasonable things from them, because a lot of the things he said that were unreasonable were fabricated. He just made things up, right? Maybe you should put it in a twit longer. Hacked away at their ability to build anything. No, they have not. They have not hacked away at their ability to build anything. The loss of revenue, the loss of resources, and the loss of staff is all on Bungie. It's all on Bungie. That is provable. That's a fact. That's objective. That's not subjective. That's not opinion. It's a matter of public record what brought them here, and it isn't PlayStation. And when PlayStation absorbs over 200 employees into SIE and spins up LFG and takes one of the projects off their hands, that is absolutely not interpreted as, oh, they're hacking away at their ability. They're here catching all the fallout from Bungie's bad decisions. Like, truly, that's what's going on.
This is not excusing leadership laziness or a large number of mistakes
Yes, it is.
devs themselves have made, but Sony's
Yes, it is. It 100% is excusing leadership laziness or a large number of mistakes the devs themselves have made. Yes, it is. You're taking everything Bungie did that brought them to this point, and you're couching it as this was unreasonable and PlayStation's hacked away at their ability to do anything.
role in all of this has been almost nothing but negative.
False. That is not true. Sony's role in this has not been almost anything but negative. 1.5 of the 3.6 billion was for employee retention so that people didn't quit. Sony's also ensuring that the people getting laid off have jobs. To say that their role has been nothing but negative is a false claim. That isn't true.
And I have to wonder what might happen if they threw more resources at Bungie rather than taking them away constantly.
And again, PlayStation's not taking resources away. That's another false claim. There is no evidence that like Sony's taking resources away. Pete Parsons owned the fact that bad leadership led them to the red and led to layoffs. The loss of resources, the loss of employees, the loss of bandwidth is Bungie's fault. It has nothing to do with PlayStation. This is just literally a blog drenched in falsehood. Hang it up with the rest of them.
Look, I want nothing more than for Bungie to have all the resources they can possibly have, and for Destiny and their team to grow, and for them to cook more Destiny. I would love nothing more than get to the point where we were with Forsaken, where we got, multiple raids in a year, multiple dungeons, and constant content rolling out toward us. And yes, you are not going to succeed with Destiny by getting in there and just trying to cheap your way through. We see those numbers being reflected right now. It's not working out. At the same time, this is a lot of goddamn money. You know where I'm coming from? That is a ton of money.
Listen. There's such an inherent dissonance and problem with this article. To admit in the article that Bungie got a ton of money and it led to complacency, and then to argue that you should give them more money, I don't have words for how stupid that is. I really want you to think about the depth of how ignorant that is. You admit in this blog that they got a ton of money from PlayStation and it led leadership to be complacent and lazy. And your solution is that PlayStation should give them more money. What a logical incoherence to this. It's unbelievable. It's staggeringly stupid. It's do you even read what you write? They got a ton of money, got complacent and lazy, and PlayStation should just give them more money because that would fix the problem. No, the frick it wouldn't. It wouldn't fix the problem. It isn't. The problem is the leadership. It's down into the bone marrow of the DNA of this company. They are so drunk on their own farts. They think everything they do is gold. It's why they ignored feedback on Marathon. It's why they get this money and they go in and they just phone it in. They're like, yeah, I'm not going to engage with the teams. I'm going to wait for my payout. And your solution is to give them more money? Unbelievable logical incoherence to the article. It's just so self-contradicting. It hurts.
If I gave you 3.6 billion, I'm going to ride that ass. You hear?
That's right. You tell him, Cross.
I'm going to be calling you every fucking day at 4 in the morning. I'm going to be like, hey, what you doing with my goddamn money? You making it right now? You got a lot to return here, motherfucker. I be calling you at dinner. Where you at? Are you eating right now? How long you been eating? It's already been 25 minutes. I'm going to call you back again here in another 5. You better be back at the office. I'm just saying.
That's right. That's right. How do you hand a company $1.5 billion for employee retention, and then what are you supposed to do? Be like, well, let's give them more money because the leadership's not engaged and lazy right now. You gave them all this money, and you're just supposed to be like, well, they're continuing to screw up, and the CEO just admitted that he ran the company into the red. I tell you what we should do as a good business venture. We should give this terrible, piss-poor leadership more money. That's what we should do. We should do that. They just admitted that they ran the company into the red. They hurt their cash cow, and then they've hurt demand for the product, and they got to lay off hundreds of people. And in the light of all of that, and in light of hearing that leadership is phoning it in and not engaging with their teams, I tell you what we should do. We should give them more money.
I would be riding that ass. It's hard. I get where Paul's coming from, and I don't get where he's coming from at all. Anybody that's followed this game all this time, you should be furious that the leadership is slowly riding off into the sunset with a bunch of golden parachutes while the game dies. I don't get where he's coming from at all. You're lashing out at PlayStation and they didn't do any of this. Bungie to have all the resources, but I'm sure Sony right now is kind of looking at the situation going, how the fuck did we end up here? I'm sure they're like, Wait a minute. We were supposed to have Destiny 2, Marathon, Gummy Bears, potentially Destiny Payback, which Sony could have been the one that canned that deal. But who knows? Concord was supposed to be thriving. You know what I mean?
Slap that like button.
Slap that like button. All right, you guys, make sure and check out the original video. Support Cross. He's a good creator. He's like the last man standing in that community. The one with integrity. The one who's honest and trustworthy. He's the only one we're supporting, in my opinion. He's the only one that handled 2020 with even a shred of dignity and integrity. And the rest of them didn't. Yeah, I don't understand. I saw that video and I was flabbergasted. I was like, I don't understand why anybody would look at how poorly Bungie has handled the last couple of years and be like, this is clearly PlayStation's fault. Like, I do not understand. And it didn't even hit me until right then at the end. Just the logical incoherence of, like, we gave you a bunch of money. The leadership responded to that money with laziness and complacency and admitted publicly to running the company into the red. What we should do is give you more money. That's what we should do. That's a solution here, is we should give you more money. No, until the leadership has been gutted, until the leadership has been replaced, there's no reason to hand them any more money. That's why I've always said you got to do it in phases. You gut the leadership, you get morale back into a good place, you enter into a publishing agreement for Destiny 3, you let people leave who don't want to work on Destiny 3, and you've got talented people there. Let them go work at your other studios, and you put the word out to see if anybody at your other studios want to come work on Destiny 3. That's the plan. That's the only way out of this. Marathon won't save them. Destiny 2's barely running. It's on life support at this point. The only way a company this size keeps going is you need an influx of cash for publishing and a big project. And that big project has got to be Destiny 3. That's it. That's all there is. You see him on screen saying, I'm going on a family vacation next week and it could be my last. Then stare dead into the camera like everyone knew what he was talking about. Joker Quinn, thanks so much for gifting a member here to YouTube. I appreciate it so much. I think I owe YouTube a member. Did I do it? Did I gift a member on YouTube? I don't think I did. So I'm going to pull up your questions here in a minute. A really great reason to be a member is you can submit questions to our Q&A. So do that. Consider becoming a member. Hit join or use your primes over there on Twitch. All those things support me and what I do. Obviously, you know, we've been doing this a long time. In spite of all the efforts to get rid of me, I'm still here, and we greatly appreciate the support of the channel and the people tuning in every day. And if you missed morning coffee this morning, it will be available in the members only playlist, and we appreciate you guys so much being here right now. I am going to gift that member, and then we'll start pulling up the questions. And make sure too to get into the Discord. The Discord is a really great way to stay connected to what we do, and it will certainly make sure that you don't miss streams. Yeah, that killed me, Fuzzy. That killed me. The constant insistence that the expectations were unreasonable. It's like, well, yeah, the expectations seem unreasonable when you just completely fabricate them and make them hyperbolic. You know what I'm saying? That was great last night, Wooly. I was telling him in morning coffee this morning about y'all's terrible. Well, no, they're actually your American accents aren't terrible. It's that it's the vocabulary and the vernacular that's terrible. Like it's pretty bad. It's like you guys have only ever learned how we talk from television or something. Thank you guys so much, and let's take the first question. Hilly says, do you think Bungie leadership is to blame? I mean, I don't know who else you would blame at this point. I don't know who else you would blame. I don't know who else you would look to say, you know, who brought the game to this point, who brought the company to this point. You want to try and do some kind of retroactive thing where, like, and this is the thing that's always bothered me about these situations. It's really bothered me. All the years I covered Destiny and all the years now I loop back to talk about the company and the game periodically, it's like it's always somebody else's fault. It is. It was Activision's fault for all those years. You know, and now it's PlayStation's fault. saved the company from going under, saved employees from being let go, but the entire Sony influence has been negative. Right, Eugene? It's just staggeringly stupid. Unbelievable to be like, it can never be Bungie's fault, ever. And to like, sort of be like, hey, I'm not going to excuse the bad leadership and bad decisions. It's like, that's literally what the entire article is. It's excusing all those things and acting like this somehow originated and was caused by PlayStation. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. It's nonsensical. Thank you for the 5 spot, the OA. Bungie went all in on Marathon, no backup plan, and now there's nothing to do but keep driving towards the cliff. Well, they didn't go all in with Marathon. They went all in with an escape strategy. They wanted to get away from Destiny. It's blatantly obvious. They had incubation projects that they spun up. They had Payback. They had Marathon. They had all these things that they were spinning up because they were trying to create other revenue streams so that if Destiny 2 needed to decline or be walked away from, and listen, I've said for a very long time, I understand why they were doing that. As a game, Destiny was very, very hard on them as a company. It was very, very difficult on them as a company. And I understand them probably saying, listen, I don't want to do this for another 10 years. I just don't want to. I just don't want to. So it made perfectly good sense for them to internally try to come up with some kind of an escape strategy and an off-ramp. I know exactly what that's like. But it didn't work. It didn't work. And now they're dealing with those, the cards on the table aren't good for them. They're not. And they're going to have to figure out a way forward. And I think the way forward is going to be getting PlayStation to fund their next effort, which I think has got to be Destiny 3. So I don't know if there was some kind of a blip on YouTube. The viewership has kind of spiked abnormally, and that's usually because something weird happened on the website. I am sorry. If you're having to refresh, it's not on my end. So I apologize if you guys just had to suddenly refresh or something. So I'm going to pull up another question here. This one's from Parasito, and he says, is there more or less, if there's more or less a confession of running the company into the ground, is there not some sort of recourse for Sony? Well, listen, the recourse would be to get rid of leadership, which I believe that's probably already been set in motion. You had a minor blip, ingest blip. Yeah, I didn't switch servers, so I don't know what it was. I believe they've already initiated the leadership changes. I believe that's already taking place, and there's more to come. Like, when did let's see, when was Pete Parsons retired 2 months ago? Yeah, I think that's step one. That's like step one. Guys, make sure you're hitting the like button. Try to get us to 200 likes very quickly. Those blips can be pretty painful for us. And Spice Saint comes in with a $5 super chat. Wait, I got 2 single gifteds coming in from Stone Spire. He's trying to bait somebody into doing a 20 bomb. Thank you so much, Stone Spire. The $5 super chat from Spice says, I've not been able to be around as much due to work and what you have, but I still want to support Take My Money. Thank you so much. That's very, very kind. Let me set the super chat goal. I will gift a member. Let me set that super chat goal. Sometimes people prefer to do super chats over gifted. So if you guys prefer to do that, every 5 super chats, I gift one back. And if we get that to 200 likes, it really, really would help. So yeah, in general, I do. I think they've already started. I think there's going to be more leadership walked out fairly soon. I think the ultimate question's not really like, when's leadership going? I think it's a matter of just a matter of time. I'm sorry, it's not a question of if the leadership's going. It's a matter of when. And then the next question is, well, what do they do? What do they build next? What do they, what does PlayStation, push for, ask for, or demand? Because at this point, having their data, having their infrastructure, having their engine, PlayStation, I know people want to turn this into what a huge L, what a huge waste of money. PlayStation's absorbed an awful lot of talent from the company already, and if they end up owning the property and the engine and all the data and all of the stuff that they've learned over the years, I would say that's probably a pretty good win. That's probably a pretty good win in the grand scheme of things to own that. The question is, what do they do with it? Yo, thank you so much, DBS Purge, for 3 months over here on Purple, and bumps the line to 106. So it's a matter of what they decide to do with it. I think Destiny is too valuable as a property to not do anything with it. I think too many people recognize the name. I think Pete leaving was part of the deal with Sony. Even Bobby Kotick left Activision after Microsoft bought them. I mean, I think that was probably, something that people knew was going to happen. So, Murphy's Little Gamer Addiction says, didn't they end DLC for Destiny 2? I thought they were done. Well, they switched into a new content plan that, you're no longer going to be getting these big expansions anymore. That's been put out to pasture. It's been 100% put out to pasture. So, we are obviously waiting to see what happens. Because right now people are like, where's the roadmap? Where's the update? Why aren't you saying anything? That's generally where the Destiny community is right now with Destiny 2. If you look at the Destiny 2 player count, it's like, I mean, it is pretty bad. And the player base that's still around is like, what are you guys doing? Like, what is happening with the game? And I feel like their next update, their next announcement is going to be pretty significant. I don't think it's going to be like hey, we're really excited about this next piece of content. I think it's going to be a very sort of transparent, here's where things stand, and this is what needs to happen if we're gonna remain a company going forward. Did your question go through? Wolf Saints, I see one that says if I took over. That's all I see. Is if that's the question you submitted, it's in. A question here from Broken Earth. How long do you think it takes to build and release a D3 if they had to start from nothing today? I think if they want to build it and they want to build it to last, I gotta say, I think they need to build it in a new engine. I know people don't believe in that. I think people think that like Tiger is too special to leave, and that it captures the feel of Destiny. But Destiny 2 Renegades new weapons and gear trailer just dropped. That stuff was already planned and in place. I'm talking about like the next major update from Bungie is probably going to be like here's where things stand. I would expect them to do that. They're either going to do that before they take their break, because they usually take a break starting around Thanksgiving and they don't come back till like January. All right? They do a pretty significant break as a company, typically. So they're either going to announce this before Thanksgiving, whatever is going on, whenever they decide to finally talk to everybody again, or they're going to say, hey, we're going to really, really talk with you guys, in a pretty frank and honest way starting in the new year about the future of Destiny, and we'll hear from it in January. It's going to be one of the two. It'll either before they take their break or after. Knowing Bungie, all right, knowing Bungie, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they do some pretty significant things and even some layoffs before the holidays. Sadly, that's kind of their MO. That's kind of their MO. So I expect something's going to happen in the coming weeks, and it's probably not going to be good. So as far as like how long will it take for them to release D3, Broken Earth asks. I think if you want to do it right, not only do you need to switch engines, I think you need to take your time. You got to give them 5 years minimum. I think you got to give them 5 years. I think you set your sights on next gen. I think you can have it be cross-gen, because there's still going to be, a lot of, PlayStation 5s out there that people are going to want to play the next Destiny on, if Destiny 3 is a thing. But yeah, if Destiny 3 is a thing, I think you've got to take your time. This is why I've always said you cannot be cash dependent on Destiny 2. If you want those 5 years to be really, really profitable and really, really efficient and an excellent use of the company's bandwidth, you got to stop dorking around with Destiny 2. The only way you do that is get to a place where you're not financially dependent on it and have the next game funded by PlayStation. That's the only way you're going to pull this off. If you want to do this thing where you still got people working on Destiny 2 and trying to maintain it and pushing out content, that's an absolute waste at this point. You got to get to the point where you just admit it ain't working. We got to move to the next thing. You got to. So, Neo Reaper says, do you think the negativity surrounding Destiny 2 is affecting Destiny Rising as they lost 65% of their revenue in October? You know what the most interesting thing about that report, that they lost 65% of their revenue in October? That was the month that they launched in China. According to the estimates I looked at, they only made like $1 million in China. That's terrible for a mobile game in that market. So I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if there's a stigma around the game, if there's a stigma around the game because it is made by Bungie and maybe it's considered like too Western in some ways. I'm just not sure. Like mobile games in the Asian market might have a certain style and vibe, and maybe they're just not passing the vibe check. I really don't know what's going on there. Thank you, Jazster, for gifting a member over here on YouTube. It's 31-21. Purple, you are behind. And another one comes in from Jazster. Thank you so much, and bumps the line to 108. People who have tested Renegade said it's bad. It's going to be so phoned in, homie. Like, I'm telling you, there's not a chance. There is not a chance that that they've got good things coming. You know? Twitch popping today? All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see. You're currently behind. You are currently behind. And Jaster coming in with another one gets us to 109. The problem is people right now don't trust Bungie to make a brand new game like D3, especially after seeing Marathon. Oh, I think lack of trust, broken trust, a lack of goodwill, I think all that's completely justified. That's why fans of Destiny, like reading that article from Tassie, I'm like, if you're a fan of Destiny, that article, it should just be insulting to you. It's insulting. It's like, after everything that's happened and where we are now, you're going to turn your sights and do the whole it's not Bungie's fault thing one more time. You know, it wasn't Bungie's fault, it was Activision. And then we're going to do that again. We're going to ride that merry-go-round of delusion that, like, yeah, it can't be Bungie's fault. It's not Bungie. It's PlayStation. That's who's to blame here. It's just like, if you've been a fan and you're frustrated with the state of the game, seeing somebody who has access and gets press releases so they can have their blogs ready, right? Like they've got that access, access journalism, even though they're not a journalist, but that access journalism is well in place, and they're going to walk out in the midst of everything right now and place blame on PlayStation. Like, that's just insulting to the fans to be like, what are you doing? It's the company. You got to hold Bungie accountable. This has nothing to do with PlayStation. Hotshot with a question. Do you think Bungie maybe scammed us out of live service games, acting as they weren't good so Sony would cancel them for player retainment in Destiny 2? I think the problem with this question is it presumes something we have no evidence for. Like, all we know that happened with Naughty Dog is that Bungie walked in the room and basically said, here's what it would take to make a successful live service game, and Naughty Dog said, we don't want to do that. Right? Bungie didn't walk in the room and say, your game sucks, don't do it. Right? That's not what happened. Like, Bungie didn't walk in the room and say, your game sucks, it's bad, don't do it, we don't want competition. They walked in the room and they were like, okay, if you want this to work, your plan, you're going to need so much more content and so much more bandwidth. And Naughty Dog literally said in their announcement, they would have had to become a live service studio. Now, why do you think Bungie was so in tune with that reality? The reason that Bungie was in tune with that reality of like what it takes to keep a live service game going and why you got to be all in, they were keenly aware because they had just damaged their cash cow by spinning up incubation projects. They weren't all in on Destiny 2, and they saw immediate problems result from that. So they were very, very keenly aware that if you're not giving everything you got to a live service game, it ain't going to work. This is going back to the narrative that Bungie canceled Naughty Dog's game. They told them you have to do this, and Naughty Dog said we'd rather focus on single player. That's right. Bungie's feedback makes perfectly good sense. The reason that Bungie's feedback makes perfectly good sense is they knew from their own experience what happened to their live service game the minute their live service game did not get all of their attention. The minute they were spinning up other projects, it caused issues. Haseo with a gift that it gets us to 110. Thank you, Haseo. And Jazster comes in with another one. We got a little single train going, guys. Join in and gift. See if we can't ride this all the way to be on pace for the day. So yeah, I don't think Bungie, quote unquote, scammed us out of live service games. By the way, if you guys haven't gone through your ritual, make sure you have hit the like button. Try to get us to 200 likes. Thank you so much for being here today. Some people also blame it on the company having less developers after layoffs, but somehow Bungie still have more devs than Santa Monica. Yeah. Mediocre Milton says, if Destiny 3 development has not started or is very early on, do you think the audience will still be here releasing in 3 to 5 years? You got to understand something, and this is something that I really, really think people need to come to grips with. And another gift that comes in from Stone Spire. Right now, we live in an economy of attention, and this is something that live service games are keenly aware of. If they don't keep your attention, then they're going to lose you. I think there's another side to this coin, that in an economy of attention, silence can be very, very powerful. If you go dark, say nothing, show nothing, do nothing for 4 years, and then you walk out with a Destiny 3 trailer, it would be huge. It would. Look at what Rockstar did with GTA 6. Nothing. Theories, speculation, speculation, and they drop the trailer and it goes crazy. Now, obviously, it's a monolithic game. It's an exaggeration to prove the point. The Silk Song effect, yeah, it happened with Silk Song. No Man's Sky, yeah, No Man's Sky does that. No Man's Sky doesn't say anything, show anything. You know, Sean Murray tweets out an emoji. And then 6 months later, there you go. You know, there you go. Like, I think, not 6 months later, it's usually like 6 days later. But you get my point. Like, silence can actually be very potent in an economy of attention. Guys, double check that it's saving your like count. The likes aren't moving, and sometimes that's because YouTube's being goofy. So double check. Try to get us to that 200 spot. We've been live for about an hour and a half. And you can submit your questions with the question command. So yeah, I think if you waited that long and then you finally dropped your trailer for Destiny 3, yes, I think it would be significant. It would. I think it would be powerful. I think it would be potent. So, let me pull up another question for you guys. The entire lobby extracted together. How can you not love Arc Raiders? I love it. I love it. Rad Donut with a question. Are we just trying to extend the inevitable? Clearly they don't have the resources, staff, or funds to keep making Destiny the way we all loved. At what point do they just stop making new content? You gotta have a plan to fund it, which means they've got to go to PlayStation hat in hand and say, we need to enter into a publishing agreement. We need this much cash over the course of the next 5 years. Whatever the budget is, right? Whatever that budget is. You know, it's probably close to 200 million, I would guess. I'm not a huge finances guy, but it would be a big one, and PlayStation might be hesitant. That's pretty big budget. Company that size, 5-year budget for that kind of publishing. And then you got to think about ongoing support. You know, they've announced 2 expansions after Renegades. Well, that's what I'm saying. All that stuff was already planned. Well, I'm talking about like beyond that. There is no way they can start to right now be internally planning more development, more plans, more content for Destiny 2. There's not enough engagement. There's not enough interest. There's no way they're making enough money. They're too big of a company. They're too big of a company like that. I don't think. And again, you got to think about there's also money and bandwidth and resources being poured into Marathon. There's going to be marketing. There's going to be elements of that as well. No dates for those expansions after Renegades. That's what I mean. A lot of that stuff's already been planned and already been slated out. I'm talking about beyond that. You got to think about the fact that this company, how on earth are you going to keep this company going? They are a large company. In the grand scheme of developers, they're one of the biggest developers out there. How are you paying all those salaries, man? They're more than likely in the red again. I mean, they showed that player engagement chart. They showed it. They said, "Look, this is where this is a no turning back moment." He points at the chart and he was like, "Yeah, that'd have been basically, time to panic." Well, now's the perfect time to panic. Yo, Collide was 7 months on purple. Thank you so much for renewing. I don't know why people think Sony had full control. Bungie had a stipulation in their contract in order for Sony to buy them. After they mess up, Sony took them over. That's another glaring thing that's missing from Tassie's blog, right? It's a real inconvenient truth. It's really inconvenient. Facts and evidence are really inconvenient when you're writing things that aren't true. Like, they've been operating independent ever since PlayStation acquired them. The stipulation was that they would operate independent. So it's like you literally can't lay any of it at Bungie's feet. How is it their fault? It's like they literally were purchased under the stipulation they would operate independent. Aaron Wright, thank you for 35 months in a member plus. What up? I hope everyone's enjoying Arc Raiders. I'm still on the fence about buying it. Well, thank you so much for renewing. We're at 114. Sounds like an engagement farm. That's why I didn't want to pull the article up. I was happy to watch Astacross look at it. I'm happy to give Astacross the engagement and put a link to his video in my description. I don't want to do this like, got to get my click rate for the month, write an article that's false. Like, there's a whole economy in Twitter Spaces and these writers now that they do this. They write something knowing it will get corrected, and that engagement is perfectly fine. Like, dollars to donuts, when that article was tweeted, I bet that tweet I bet you it's one of his more engaged with tweets. I bet you it drove engagement, because it's like you're literally writing something that is going to get corrected. People are going to be quick to line up and say this isn't true, and that engagement is good because it makes the tweet spin up, and then more people are likely to click on the article to be like, what's this guy saying? Why is he saying this? Arc Raiders HQ Twitter account's been suspended. Was it like a fake account or something? I saw somebody retweet it, and I can't even find it. I can't find the tweet. I'm scrolling. I'm still scrolling. A $20 super chat from Street Shadow says, Game Biz here. With Sony turning Bungie more into a PlayStation studio, it wouldn't be a publishing deal. Sony would be the publisher for all Bungie next games like Naughty Dog. Bungie makes a pitch and Sony gives feedback and approves. Okay, so move the pieces of the board. Move the pieces of the board around. That's the result that needs to happen. That's the result that needs to happen. Destiny 3 is going to have to be published by PlayStation, and Bungie can no longer be financially reliant on Destiny 2. You've got to break that. You have to. If you don't break that relationship, you're never ever going to see things change. I mean, it's got 58,000 views and 138 comments. So 58,000 views. Funny enough, it didn't work. Didn't seem to drive engagement to the tweet. And likely with the view count there, not a lot of clicks either. Which is probably a good thing, because it's not true. You know? Ashton with a question. Potentially stupid question. How did the purchase work out? Was it that they bought shares, and if so, how does that work? I don't know the financials of it. I know that there was $1.5 billion in retention bonuses. They didn't want people to quit, because a lot of the times when you acquire a company, lots of the leadership walks because they're worried about, oh, well, we're going to get taken over and they're going to tell us what to do and we don't want. So like the stipulations were, we retain our independence, and then there was a $1.5 billion in employee retention bonuses. They didn't want people leaving. As you said, we are seeing that with Marathon. The PlayStation Studios logo only appears on games that Sony publishes. So it being Marathon's loading screen, it shows Sony is publishing that one. I think that's the greatest reason to cancel it. I don't think they should put their name on that game. I think that game is a dead man walking. I don't know why anybody would think that game... I still to this day am confused why some of y'all think that game has a chance. We have seen so many live service games crash and burn. This one's burning before it even hits the market. Like, how on earth do you think it has a chance? Like, it's not even in the market and it's already on fire. Like, I don't know. Live service is so stinking difficult. It's the most difficult of games to launch. We've seen games launch with more promising futures that are already dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a steep hill to climb. It's narrow, it's slick, it's easy to slide off. This thing's starting behind the 8 ball. You know? I am actually genuinely shocked that if PlayStation's now kind of in the driver's seat and they're the ones publishing it, I'm genuinely shocked that it's still going forward. I am. I'm like, I'm this is bewildering to me. You don't want to have another Concord. All right. It sounds like you got one. Wolf Saints with a question. If you took over, what direction would you take Destiny and Bungie? I would fire all of the leadership. Anybody who's ever uttered the sentence like old guard, old uniforms, I'd fire all of them. I would no longer work with, facets of the press and streamers. I would no longer do that. Some of those relationships are incredibly unhealthy and inappropriate. So I would cease all of that. That would be the end of all of that nonsense. And I would procure talent from all my other studios that want to come and work on Destiny 3. I would allow people to say, hey, I don't want to work on Destiny 3, but I'd like to work in another studio. I'd let them do that. I'd let them do that with safety. Right? You might have missed my setup. I did miss your setup. I'm so sorry. Stone Spire gifts a member. We are now 10 away from the next milestone. We'll see if anybody drops the 10 bomb to get us to 125. Whoever does it, I have to gift a member to your platform. You don't want the C-suite dating streamers? No, I don't think the company should be using the Twitch directory as their dating pool. No, I don't think that should be happening. So, yeah, I would put an end to that. I would. Yeah. If I was in charge, I would also do an internal investigation and an internal discovery process and fire anybody who had anything to do with what happened to me in 2020. I'd drag all that out into the public and be like, here you go. Here's what was going on. I spoke to a former employee about what was going on. And he's like, I would drag all that out to the public, boys. I would. Drag it all out. Let them all know. Let everybody see the other Christopher Barretts. You know what I mean? Because there's more. Murphy's Little Gamer Addiction with a question here. Besides Bungie, are there any other PlayStation studios that you're worried about? Right now, no. I mean, we don't know enough to really worry about, we don't really know enough to worry about any of them. You know? The one guy was in chat the one day. Yeah, he said we were going to talk. He's never connected. He's not the one I spoke to. I spoke to somebody else. And then RN Jesus also spoke to people at the company who let him know some pretty serious things. So I would love for Bungie to go through a discovery process. I was kind of cheering for, like when Barrett was suing them. I think that's why he was suing them. I think he was hoping that they would be terrified of discovery and they would settle out of court, because I think he knows where the metaphorical bodies are buried. Like, he knows the dirty laundry, and I think he knew, or he was hoping, if I sue them, they're going to want to avoid discovery and they're going to settle. The mistake that he made was Sony doesn't give a frick. Sony's totally fine with that dirty laundry getting trotted out because it'll be grounds to fire people. So Sony's like, yeah, I'm your Huckleberry, and they exposed his DMs and his emails, and everybody saw that he was a predator, and it was like, that's the end of that. Like, Sony had no problem responding to that. Yeah, he sued for wrongful termination, and Sony's response was to basically fire back and expose all of his DMs and his emails, and it was like, oh, well, that's that. You know, I don't know how anybody could act like this was a wrongful firing. It was like... He had zero problem calling me a predator. He was the one. I wasn't anything. I wasn't anything they accused me of. It was bogus. Like, his stuff is documented. And I think there's worse things that happened at the company, and he was banking on that. That's been my theory for a very long time, is that the reason he was willing to take that risk, because I think he thought Bungie's going to settle. It's the same reason that Purple settled with Doc, y'all. It's the same reason. Like, the same reason. Purple settled with Doc for the same reason. They didn't want to go through discovery because they don't want all that bad stuff out there in the public. Bungie, if they were not owned by Sony, they probably would have settled with Barrett and been like, yeah, we don't want to go through a discovery process. So I don't know what's happening with it right now. I would love for it to go forward. It would be amazing. It would be absolutely amazing for Bungie to have to go through the lawsuit and go through discovery. We would learn just some wonderful things about people that work there. We would probably learn about some of the stuff that happened with streamers. It would be, like he says in Law Abiding Citizen, it would be biblical. It would be fantastic to see all that drug into the light. So I don't know what the status of the lawsuit is. Sony didn't back down. That's all I know. So Barrett might have backed down after they shot back. That's very, very possible. Any updates? No, not since they fired back. Yeah. So I don't know what the status of it is. I don't know if anybody's tried to look into it or try to get an update on it, because that stuff's all public record. So it's like, I don't know. It was like the Apple Epic lawsuit. We got such an insight into some of the craziest things that have happened in the industry. Well, you get to see everything when a lawsuit's going on. You get to see everything. I mean, it's wonderful. Yeah, I think people being exposed is wonderful. I think it's good. I think many of them have it coming. I think a lot of them have it coming. Yeah. So, we'll see. Stonespire says, off-topic question, are there any game awards happening before the big one in December? I thought there was at least one. When's Golden Joystick happening? Golden Joystick Awards date 2025. That Thursday, November the 20th. Yeah, we'll definitely be covering that. That'll be the week before I go home for Thanksgiving. I go back to my hometown. So we'll be covering that. Yeah, November 20. So that predates the one with Keeley that is in December. Yeah. Is he still banned? Yeah. It was a Steam ban. Keeley's is on the 11th, December 11th. It was a Steam ban for like it's like a 500-year ban or something. Like, it wasn't a legitimate ban. Like, they didn't go into Destiny and, like, ban me. Like, when I went to Bungie's website, it didn't treat me like I was banned. They went into Steam and did a dev ban for, like, 500 years or something. It was real legitimate. You could really tell it was on the up and up, like everything else that happened back then. You can really tell that it was legitimate. Where are you from? I'm not from Louisville. I've lived in Louisville since for 23 years. I'm originally from Canton, Ohio. Do you still hate talking about Xbox, or are you used to it now? Is just fanboys you don't like interacting with? I mean, I got exhausted with the bad faith debates that surround that brand. I get exhausted with people who say things that are really, really uninformed and bad, and when you call them on it, it gets turned around on you or something. So I've just gotten to the point where, like, I don't really care. I don't really care what people say or do with me or my content. It's like I'm going to say what I want and cover what I want, you know? I kind of came to the conclusion, it's like I'm not going to give power to people like that. So, from Canton, home of the Football Hall of Fame, but doesn't watch football. Yeah, I grew up watching it all the time, and now I just don't have time or care to watch it. I've not been to the Kentucky Derby. No, Ghost in the Garage Gaming is supposed to take me next year. He was going to go this year, but his wife was in an accident and had a broken arm, and she didn't want to go. So we've got kind of a standing agreement. We'll go next year. I've never been, and it's going to be a real treat for my wife and I to go. We can't afford stuff like that, so that'll be very kind for somebody to do that, because it's just not something we would ever do. So it was 10,000 years if memory serves, not 1,000. Been a while. Yeah, I don't know. If you go in and look, it's like 180,000 days right now or something wild. Yeah. It. There's a lot of really, really big streamers looking into a lot of things that have been happening lately, and boy, oh boy, would it be amazing. It would be amazing for them to look into what happened to me, but we'll see if that ever happens. Parasito with a question says, do you think that SIE would be interested in making non-gaming content from the Destiny universe? Bungie has mentioned things like TV series in the past. Would Sony bite at that? Well, I think the dilemma right now, if you ever wanted to launch Destiny content, like a show or something, right? I think the difficulty that you're going to run into is, like, if the brand and the game is in really, really low reputation, then you're just going to have a really, really hard time getting anybody to care. Like, at its height, at its peak, if they could have had content like running adjacent to the end of the saga, maybe. But now, I don't think Sony would be interested in it. I've always thought you could make an amazing anime in the Destiny universe. I mean, it would be incredible. I think some of those ships have sailed. I think they'd have to get the game back into a better place, you know? I think they have to get the game back into a better place. And, get the public reputation into a better place as well. Because, like, right now, it's just like, I think people would look at it and be like, what are y'all doing? Why are you doing that? Like, think about the optics on the game's not doing great, and you're out here launching a frickin' TV show, right? Now, it would be completely different people, and the money and everything would be coming from a completely different place, okay? But it doesn't matter. The optics from the public would be like, what the frick are you doing? What are you doing? Like, the game's in bad shape and you're launching a TV show? Like, I think those people would be in error in their frustration, but I think that's what it would do. I think it would just frustrate people. They would be like, why are you doing this? So, question here from Vaughn Raz says, I get what you're saying with the magnetic pull with the D2 name, but ever since the 10-year saga has ended, the brand name has blundered. It doesn't pull as much weight, so why not start fresh? It could be worse than what is going on now. Think about it like this, Vaughn. The gaming world is really, really receptive to the comeback, okay? And the secret to a good comeback is you got to shut the frick up and do the work. You got to shut up and do the work. You can't keep talking. You can't keep coming out and, trying to hype people. You can't keep doing stuff with Destiny 2. All right, there have been big comebacks, and they got to work, whether it was Final Fantasy XIV or No Man's Sky or whatever. You go dark for 4 years, and you walk out with a Destiny 3 trailer. It would rock the world. It would. It's a big name title. It's very popular. It would be talked about. It would go viral. It would get lots of views. It would. And then guess what you just have to do after that? You just got to deliver. You just got to deliver. The recipe's there. Go quiet, build something amazing, drop the trailer, and people will go crazy. They're like, oh my gosh, it's happening. Oh no, too much time has passed. No. This is the kind of game that when you have that comeback, people will lose their dadgum minds. Big streamers would talk about it. Big streamers would play it. Big YouTubers would cover it. Like, it would be, it'd be a mic drop. It'd be a mic drop moment. It would be. And then you got to deliver. And I think if they took 5 years to build it, and they took all of what they've learned about like bandwidth management and parallel development and deliverable schedules and pivot to an engine that's more agile than Tiger. They need to be in an engine that's got more agility. They need an engine that can leverage, people are going to hate me saying this, they're going to need an engine that can leverage AI and machine learning so that they can create content and instances faster. I'm not talking about all of the content. They've got to leverage something that can keep up with the demands of the player pool. Environments that are replayable and have good replay value that are maybe leveraging machine learning or procedural generation or RNG or something of that nature, right? You still need bespoke encounters like dungeons and raids and nightfalls. You still need that. You need good public spaces, but I would think that's going to be your best approach. Yeah, that's going to be your best approach. I think you could build something amazing, and I think if they're in an engine that's agile and they got the right amount of bandwidth and they got the right amount of people, I think they could build something amazing. Destiny 2's down till 1 p.m. Oh, well, we'll gladly take the people looking to see what's going on with the game right now. Come in and hang out and talk. Destiny 2 failed you as a PvP guy. I believe it. There's no point in making Destiny 3 if the people making Destiny 2 don't even want to do Destiny 2 right. And in my opinion, with all the collaborations they've crutched on, they don't even know what Destiny is anymore. There's a part of what you're saying, Vapor, that is exactly correct, which is why I would say if they decide to publish a Destiny 3, you got to let people leave that don't want to work on it, and then you got to bring people in that do want to work on it. It wouldn't shock me in the least if there's people at Guerrilla right now or Bend Studio that would jump at the chance to come work on a Destiny 3. I mean it. I guarantee you there are people right now that would be like, dude, I want to work on that. I believe it. You have to set $1 billion aside. I mean, the money they could make long term, that's ultimately what it's going to come down to, is if they feel like they can recoup. If they can recoup the cost to build it, I think they'll build it. I mean it. I think they'll have them build it. If PlayStation crunches the numbers and says, listen, with the money you've made the last 10 years, all we need to do in the first 5 is make this to justify building this, they'll frickin' build it. I think that the game, the IP, the name, all of it, I think it's very strong. Would you cover or play Destiny 3? It's very possible I would play and cover it. I would not become a Destiny 3 creator, if that's what you're asking. That's not a desire that I have. So, Street Shadow with a question says, of Sony's live service efforts, ignoring Bungie, what interests you the most? Mine, whatever Dark Outlaw is doing in this mystery collab with People Can Fly. I'm not interested in it, but I'm the most interested to see how well Marvel Toko and Fighting Souls does. Like, if Fighting Souls can be successful, it can be a money printer for them. I mentioned a while ago that Guerrilla have hired some of the devs from Bungie. Yeah, we're gonna become a permanent Kirby Air Riders stream. So, NetEase Cook with Destiny Rising. They're not doing great now. I mean, they've had a lot of player loss. They've had a lot of engagement loss and revenue loss. Their revenue's down 65% in the same month they launched the game in China. That's bad. That's not good. That's not good at all. Hang on. We got a question here. From Murphy. Do you think Destiny 3 could be a console exclusive for the PlayStation 6, or would it have to be across all consoles and PC? It would not be an exclusive. Absolutely not. No. It would not be an exclusive. Like their attitude about live service is not exclusive. Now, would they go PlayStation and PC and stagger and then bring it to Xbox? It depends on where Xbox is at that point. The Series X and S saturation is so weak that by the time Destiny 3 lands, like let's just imagine a future where it lands in 2030, would it be worth building a version that can run on the Series S? I don't know. It might make way more sense to build for, PS5, PS6, and Steam when PC. And then Xbox is going to have some kind of a Steam hybrid machine in the market at that point. Is there really a reason to build for Series S at that point? I just don't know. The saturation in their hardware sales are just in such a terrible spot. I don't know if PlayStation would want that. Like, what at that point, what's the point? I thought I heard something through my microphone in my house. Well, my wife is not here. Interesting. So weird when that happens. Like, my microphone can pick up sound from the rest of the house. And I swore I heard something in my headphones. I was like, what was that? It's a ghost. There's a ghost in my house. I brought this up yesterday, says Fuzzy, and it blows my mind when I'm out and about and I have my arms exposed. So many people comment on my Destiny tattoo to this day. On Saturday, I was at a restaurant, and 4 of the employees came up to talk about my tattoo. All but one of them have stopped playing after it had consumed 5 to 6 years of their life. I have more people tell me how they've stopped playing than people tell me that they are still playing. It feels like it really needs a shake-up to be a good, relevant game. Destiny 3 feels like it's the only path. Jason Schreier said last year that Sony higher-ups told him Destiny is now in a death spiral, and the current very low numbers back up Sony's decision to cut the budget. The current Bungie silence is very telling. Feels like maybe they're quiet because there's no money for the future. I actually think they're probably charting a plan forward now that it's a PlayStation studio. You know what I mean? I've got the Hunter Snake on the hood of my car, and people still comment on it, saying they miss how fun the game used to be. That's what I'm saying. People recognize Destiny paraphernalia. You wear a t-shirt out, hoodie, jacket, whatever. People are going to be like, oh, man, Destiny. Like, so many people have played Destiny. So many people. So, you got to think about the... you got to think about it. You've got to think about the strength of the brand and the strength of the IP, because that gives them the opportunity to have that comeback moment. That gives them the opportunity to, walk out and say something, and everybody's going to be talking about it. Because think about what you're saying. All these people that stopped playing it, all these people that remember it, all these people that recognize your tattoo or your t-shirt or whatever, those are all people that would be like, oh my gosh, did you hear there's a Destiny 3 trailer? I can't believe it's coming back. They would almost all of them, I feel like, would come and give it a shot. They would buy it. At some level, That's all you need. You see what I'm saying? That's all you need. You just need all those people to buy the launch version of the game. Now, you want them to stick with it. You want them to keep playing, but those initial sales, I think, would be very strong. People really discount how much everything would change if they even just did something as simple as we are concepting what Destiny 3 will be. Think about it from this perspective, right? Think about it from this perspective. If they decide to do this, there's not another thing they could say that would get people excited or build confidence. If they're like, we're going to build a new game. Well, people are going to look at Marathon and be like, oh yeah, can't wait for that. You're going to steal more artwork. I'm just saying what people would say. If they're like, we're going to keep going with Destiny 2, or we're going to reinvigorate Destiny 2, or we're going to reset Destiny 2, people are going to go, are you freaking kidding me? I reset the question queue, by the way, guys. I'm like, are you kidding me? But if you say, we're going to go dark and we're going to work on Destiny 3, we've entered into a publishing agreement, we are now a PlayStation studio, we're procuring talent, acquiring talent, we got people coming from other studios to help, blah, blah, blah. That, I think, is people going to be like, oh, well, that sounds like something you guys should be doing. I think that would make people say, that would make people perk up and pay attention. Anything else they say, I don't think anybody's going to pay much attention to it. It's like, oh, a new game? Eye roll. Oh, you're going to do something with Destiny 2? You're going to reinvigorate it? You're going to get it going again? Eye roll. I think in general, that's just the way things are going to go. The only way you win the public back now is build the thing that everybody thinks you should build, and then go work on it. And I think you got to switch engines and you got to procure more talent. That's it. That's the recipe. I grabbed some other things that I thought were really, really important in the grand scheme of things. So something else that was enumerated that I think this really adds to the refutation of the TASI blog was this one here from IGN. Within the company, there's a growing expectation that senior company leadership will leave in droves in the summer of 2026 when the final payouts from Sony acquisition of the company take effect. With this in mind, there's a strong push to get Marathon out the door before then and let whoever takes the reins after that, be it Sony or Bungie, worry about how it's sustained. We're somewhere on that timeline right now. We are somewhere on that timeline. Which, again, I think is just grounds to be like, how could you possibly act like this is a PlayStation issue? You know what would get Destiny 2 rolling again? Sony investing like $3.6 billion. That's right. They need another $3.6 billion. That's correct. A question from Murphy. Does PlayStation now own Bungie 100%? Did the contract say that if they failed, PlayStation would not? We don't know. There was an earnings call where they said that they were transitioning the studio into becoming a PlayStation studio. We don't know what that timeline is. We don't know if it's happened and is completed. It's pretty clear it started. I think Pete Parsons leaving is sort of the beginning. So, yeah. Plenty of those people have bailed or been nudged. Yes. Yeah. So, I think it's already happened. The question is, when does it come to completion? When do we see signs that it's done and now PlayStation's in the driver's seat? It may have already happened, which personally, if I was to theorize why Bungie is so quiet, I would say that's why. They're not in charge anymore. They don't get to say or do anything without PlayStation say so. Right? That would be my guess. Like, they're not allowed to come out and address the company, the community anymore. PlayStation's like, no, you shut your freaking mouth. Like, we're in charge now. I mean, I mean, just theorizing. I'm not saying that's what's going on. I'm just theorizing. I need to take a quick break. I usually take a break before we start the show, and I did not do that. So do me a real quick favor. Make sure and hit the like button. Check all your renewals and all those things, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Destiny Rising. Level 76 here. Thoroughly enjoying the mobile version. After watching the new Renegade trailer, Chewbacca's crossbow is an exotic. What's Matt Piscatella talking about with Steam? Let's see here. He says, I really have other things to do this morning, but I can't help myself. From 2010, 5 reasons why Steam will destroy PC games industry. In short, Valve is becoming a dangerous monopoly. Oh, geez, I wonder what happened. Chaser from later in 2010. Steam is not a monopoly. Anyways, a plethora of PC digital distribution storefronts have launched since. PC gaming has boomed, and now everyone and their mom is out there trying to put their PC games out. One of the biggest problems PC games and game makers face now is that there are so many games being made on PC that discoverability is extremely difficult, that the windows of opportunity are small, and it's like winning the lottery to break out. I don't understand why. So is he posting that people were fear-mongering the monopoly and then it didn't happen and that PC is just fine? Is that what Matt's trying to say? A dev survey was released today showing 72% believe Steam is a monopoly. Oh. So he's saying that the devs are like, yeah. The devs are basically saying, yeah, we were all worried this is going to happen, and it happened. Got it. This is mostly C-suite level devs. Make a better storefront. That wouldn't do anything. You're never gonna upset what Steam has. Like, build a better storefront. Like, what do you mean? That ship sailed, brother. I don't care. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. You're not going to topple that giant. It's over. It's over. They're king. I don't know what to say. I mean, they're cooked. So, you know, and they do. I mean, and then, you know, Steam does stuff that feels a little anti-competitive. I mean, we've had that debate before, but, you know, making it hard for other storefronts to be appealing or lucrative. The only way you're going to do it is by having better prices, which they can't really do. Not only that, I mean, nobody wants to open up another launcher. I mean, Epic's giving games away for free and having exclusivity deals, and Epic's like still making zero inroads. Just waiting for the inevitable death, resulting in Steam's restructuring and people wondering why they let Steam have so much power. You think this rhetoric is in preparation for Microsoft focusing on their own PC store? I honestly don't know. I do not know. Everyone loves that they can do no wrong. Yeah, I mean, when people don't care and they're happy with they're happy. Like, if the consumers are happy, like, what are you going to do? Steam is great, so we start to lose access to our titles. I mean, I don't think that's in the future, but that certainly is the concern that a lot of people have with digital ownership, is that they can take it away. You think they're removing Xbox stuff in stores to make way for the Xbox Magnus ahead of time? I don't think that they were moving stuff in the stores for Magnus, because Magnus is a ways away, like 2 years. I don't know. My gut said they were going to try to do a strong push for the handhelds for holiday, but nothing really came of it. I mean, there were a handful of stores saying that they weren't getting stuff and they weren't getting restock. I think we see why. I mean, they just had their report come out, like the hardware sales are just doing really, really bad. I mean, they've hurt their demand in the market pretty significantly, and when you do that, I just think you're going to start to see less distribution. So I don't think they're pulling out of retail. But what I think they're doing is they're just minimizing distribution. Like, there's people aren't buying the console. So yeah, you can call locations or go to locations and find them. I was just in a Target with my kiddo because he needed to return a Nerf gun because it broke. And so we took it back, and I said, well, let me check the game aisle. And all the Xbox stuff was still there, all the placards, all the signage. And they had 3 Series S's and a Series X. So, I don't think they're abandoning retail, but I think there are retailers who are either not getting restocked or they're minimizing the presence of Xbox because they're not getting restocked. And I think that's because distribution's probably slowing down. So I don't think, because a lot of people are like, oh, they're leaving retail. I think this is just part of the results of everything that they've done. Everything that they've done has kind of led to this moment. Can you still not search Xbox merch for on the Costco website? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Costco either. Like, Sneakers said that Costco would be just the beginning, that other retailers, you were soon going to see other retailers no longer carry Xbox. I don't think any of that is surprising. The units aren't selling. They're clearly pivoting in strategy and in how they position themselves in the market. This is undeniable at this point. This isn't hate. This isn't, Xbox is bad. They're switching. Like, it's just not a priority. So, Costco doesn't have anything Xbox related anymore, not even gift cards. Yeah, I just think stuff like that's just going to continue. DMG just tweeted about the roadmap. They've made it to where you can't see anything somebody is saying. If he said fun new stuff, that's about the roadmap? Oh, he said, cannot apologize enough for the delay here. Team is still jamming. Hope to have some comms out soon. Please continue to yell at me directly, and I say this without any sarcasm. They're focused on our immediate and long-term future. I'm happy to take 100% of the blame here in promising comms early that we could not execute on in the projected timeline. I don't know. I feel like this response kind of supports my theory, maybe, that they're not really allowed to say anything right now. I don't know. He says, yeah, I'm happy to take the blame for promising comms early that we could not execute on in the projected timeline. Like, that sounds to me like, yeah, we can't say anything right now. I don't know. My theory is pretty basic, that, like, PlayStation's more in control now, and they were like, you guys just need to not say anything. There's too many shifting parts, too many shifting stones. So just be quiet until we can, make official announcements about leadership changes and structural changes and timeline changes and all of that. I thought that dude doesn't. Yeah. He was the one who famously said, there's not a muzzle big enough. I don't think you're going to see these guys ever getting big on their social hobby horses ever again, unless they quit, because I don't think Sony's going to allow for it. This guy says, I didn't mean for that to be viewed as yelling, but it's concerning. I want the game to thrive again, and I feel like a Gear trailer with no communications for as long as we've had will just kind of have a negative effect and make expectations on the roadmap that much higher. DMG says, absolutely hear that and agree. We want to make Destiny the best game it can be. Not just game, but place for people to make long-lasting friendships and lifelong memories. Much love. I don't know what that means. They want to make Destiny the best game, not just a game, but the best place for people to make long-lasting friendships and memories. I don't know. I don't know. It's, again, I feel like they can't really say anything. He's just kind of speaking. I don't even know how to describe that. That's just that kind of like that fluff speech kind of speak that they use. There's nothing wrong with what he said. It's just it doesn't really say much, and I think that's because they probably can't say anything right now. That's my theory, is that they're not able to say anything. Warhammer Survivors has been announced. One of the clones that have come close to Vampire Survivors, so licensing the engine was an awesome move. So in the grim darkness of the far future, there's only war. Introducing Warhammer Survivors coming in 2026. The Endless Night closes around you. So did they show gameplay in this trailer? Can the mouse stop moving? What the heck? There we go. Here, I'll put the mouse down here. Here we go. Oh, this is a collab coming to Vampire Survivors. I was like, wait a minute. This literally looks like Vampire Survivors. Wait, no. This isn't Vampire Survivors, is it? So that's not a DLC in Vampire Survivors. That's its own game. So did they... You can wishlist it now. Is this something that they're making in conjunction with the devs of Vampire? Have they licensed the engine, maybe? Because that's what Dustin's saying here. He says... this rules, in my opinion, none of the clones have come close to Vampire Survivors, so licensing the engine was an awesome move. I'm in. So they've licensed the engine, and they're letting people now build games. Now, I actually don't know if I completely agree. I actually think that Deep Rock Galactic Survivor is excellent. He's saying nothing's come close. I don't know. I think Deep Rock Galactic Survivor has come very close to being as good as Vampire, if not maybe better. I think the main thing missing from Deep Rock is co-op. They're using the official Vampire Survivors engine. So Vampire Survivors has announced this. Get ready to see Warhammer 40K, Warhammer Age of Sigmar universe together in a standalone game that is part of our official Survivors lineage. Deep Rock is better than Vampire. If Deep Rock had co-op, I think it would be the absolute slam dunk better game. The lack of co-op is probably the biggest thing against it. So I think that's really cool to see Deep Rock having that level of success that they've, they're going to license the engine. I think that's pretty cool. Deep Rock Survivor is not even in the ballpark of Vampire. Why would you say that? I'm a huge fan. No, but what makes you say it's not even in the ballpark? The meta progression, the grind, the mechanics, the characters, the weapons. I mean, the quantity of characters isn't there, and the co-op isn't there. But, like, if we're honest, a lot of the playable characters in Vampire Survivors, they're just different artwork and a different starting weapon. Like, there's not that much to those characters. Like, there's a lot of quantity in Vampire Survivors and not a lot of substance with some of those things. Like, you can play as this character, and you start with a knife instead of a whip. Like, that, come on. Like, there's not some of that I think is like this illusion of stuff, which I love Vampire Survivors. I played it a ton with my nephews and my son. It was so shallow at launch. The upgrades were very boring and extremely grindy. It was not shallow at launch. You're talking about when it was in early access. They just recently officially launched Deep Rock in 1.0. So, like, no, I don't agree with that. You can't indict Deep Rock for shallowness a year ago in early access. They only just launched in 1.0. And it's a massive amount of content. It's a very, very big game. I think it's excellent. I don't know. If it had co-op, I'd argue it's better. I really, really like Vampire. But, and again, this is just opinion, so you can disagree. But to be like, it's not even the same ballpark. It's like, Jiminy Christmas. Deep Rock is one of the best Survivors out there after Vampire. I mean, Patrick says, I don't know who this Twitch chatter is, but I'll fight them. It's Mediocre Milton. Is there anything to this PS Portal update leak? It's so bogus, FCAT. That's the most AI picture I think I've ever frickin' seen. The PlayStation font was so bad, you could tell AI was trying to replicate PlayStation's font. It looked terrible. It didn't look real at all to me. That image is a joke. I don't know why anybody's taking that serious. Also, it had PlayStation 6 on it. I'm about as confident as I can be that they're not going to call it a PlayStation 6 handheld. They're not doing that. It's going to come before the PlayStation 6. It will not be a PlayStation 6 handheld. I've it on very good authority that is not what it will be called. See, what somebody did was they took what Moore's Law is Dead is said very literally. So Moore's Law kept referring it to as a PlayStation 6 handheld. I think even he said that that's likely not what it would be called. I think he was using that as like a placeholder. I feel like he even qualified that. Yeah, and they're partnering with Temu or Temu, however you say it. Come on. That was about as fake gets. And the fact that the post is still up, I bet you the post is still up. That you know it's fake if the post is still up. So let me go to my mentions here. Yeah, the post is still up. This would be taken down if this was real. Hang on, let me see if I can't get a zoom in on this. I'm just looking for signs of AI on the box. Yeah, that font to me, that's just a dead giveaway. That font is freaking terrible. Like, in what universe are you putting PlayStation 6 down here? And look at the size of the screen. I'm so confident this is fake, I'm showing it to you. Like, look at the size of the screen. That's just awful. And secondly, select start? What the heck is this? What is select and start? Since when are those the words that PlayStation would use? And then look at the font for PlayStation 6. Why would you even put that there? And look at how close it is to the screen. Look at the L. The L in PlayStation is practically it might even be arguably in the dadgum screen. This is AI. This is the most blatantly obvious AI thing I think I've ever seen. The 6 doesn't even look like it's the right size. And the L is literally encroaching on the screen itself. It's swelling the black border. Yeah, the size of the screen is so dadgum terrible. Imagine going from the PlayStation Portal to this. Look at the size of the screen. Look at the stick placement. Yeah, imagine putting your thumb here and then reaching up for this D-pad. Hopefully you've got chimpanzee hands. Goodness gracious. What is this? Come on. This is the fakest thing I've ever seen. This is so... It's so fake. It's so ugly. Like, I'm so confident that it's fake that I'm showing it to you. All right? Now that we've looked at that, let's look at the real article. This is the PlayStation Portal. Look at the joystick locations. Look at the buttons. They're not select start. Look at the size of the screen. Look at the fact that they're not wasting capital around the screen by putting words. Like this is a real device, and you can tell by looking at it that it's real. There's so many visual clues and indicators that this is real, and then you look at the other one and you're like, what in the world? Like, I can't believe people are falling for it. The select start ain't been on a controller since PS2. Yes, it's an AI misfire. AI is only as good as the information that it has. So AI basically, grabbed the history of PlayStation and it grabs select start is what it did. So it thought, oh yeah, that's going to be on it. And again, if you look at the font for PlayStation 6, look at what it's mimicking. Right? It's mimicking when did it look like that? Not PlayStation 3. PlayStation font history. Which one does it look like? It's not the current font that they use. It's like some kind of lowercase nonsense. It kind of looks like PlayStation 3, but at the same time it doesn't. It doesn't look like any of them actually. Yeah, so also the thing that image is apparently, claiming is that they're completely changing their font as well. This is why I love the PS5. Its design language is so unique, it's very difficult to make an AI fake of anything without drawing immediate skepticism. Yeah, that font's never been used. It looked like they were trying to mimic the PS3 font, but the PS3 font was like the Spider-Man font. Or whatever it was called. I don't know if they called it that, but it was like the same as the Spider-Man font. What was that? Have you guys been hearing my Discord alerts? Was that a Discord alert noise? Have you guys been hearing those all day? No. I swore I heard a Discord. Boop. I thought I heard. No, yeah, they're not coming through. I swore I heard that. That was so weird. My mind is messed up today. I'm hearing things. Wait, what is that? What's this image, Omar? Based on this garbage right here, you can order from China. Yeah, this right here is the image that influenced that other image. What is this thing even called? Like phantom phone vibrations? Yeah, I guess. Like if we look at the thing that that post has and we look at that image, that's where it's coming from. Yeah, 100%. Yep. If you look at the D-pad with the lines on it, that's exactly what has influenced this. Yeah, it's freaking fake as fake gets. What a joke. Well, let's see what we can do. Yeah, let's go to green room in 15 minutes. Oops. No. There we go. 13 minutes. If you guys want to extend, you can extend. If not, we're going to go to green room. Green room takes place in the Discord now. Every 5 extends a stream. If you guys want to check your resubs or round out the gifteds, we're close to the 125. Well, I'll owe you more. Can you do green room now? I have book club in 30 minutes. Guys, Hilly has book club in 30 minutes. He wants me to do green room now. So it'd be really frustrating for him if you extended the stream. The best thing about the thing, the PlayStation is trademarked as a capital P with a capital S. Portable Game Player 5 is what that thing is called. Hilly said, don't say that. What? It's in the Discord? Yes. And a 5 bomb comes in from Parasito and gets us exactly 5 away. And that adds 2 minutes. Every 2 minutes extends the stream. And we're now going until 12:47. Thank you so much, Parasito. Another 5, and I owe you guys a member as well. Wasn't he the one begging for green room to be delayed last week? I don't remember media. I don't remember Milton. I don't know. Hilly's always, always out here asking for special treatment. It's just in his nature. On his birthday? Yeah. And a 5 bomb comes in from Broken Earth. I now owe a member to YouTube, and that adds 2 more minutes to the broadcast. You guys very, very quickly can extend what we're doing here. And a 5 bomb comes in from Alex and gets us to 30. We are now a 20 bomb away from the next milestone, which maybe somebody wants to land that plane and do another big extension. I owe YouTube a member, though. Let me do that now. Let me give one back here to the community as a thank you for hitting that milestone. And then, guys, every Friday night is now Gaming News Tonight, where my wife reacts to gaming news and then we play a game together. It is a public stream, so make sure you're tuning into those. We appreciate all the people that have been enjoying that content on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. And there is the one that I owe YouTube. I need to check on that, by the way. Editing starts soon. Yeah, they absolutely broke something on the live streams when you try to mute sections of a broadcast. I told it to mute that section on that yesterday, and it's still going. I don't know what they did. You used to be able to mute sections of broadcasts relatively quickly, and it is not happening anymore. I'm not sure what they did. You used to be able to mute stuff really quickly. No, you cannot auto-renew your Prime. If you guys pay for Amazon Prime and you support me by using that Prime over there on Purple, you got to do that manually every month. It does not auto-re-up. So I appreciate everybody who takes the time to do that. I know it's time out of your day to like open the app, make sure the app's updated and all that. I get it. I'm not going to ever try and downplay that. I don't like doing that either, opening up another app and doing something like that. So I appreciate when you guys take the time to do that because it does support me. It adds to the total over here. And I literally do this full time because of direct viewer support. That's how we do this. So if you've ever thought about supporting me on Purple or YouTube, I try to give back as much as I can with morning coffee segments with my wife, stuff in the Discord, weekend community game night, stuff like that. I try to do about as much as I conceivably can for you guys because it's how I do this. Yeah, you can only use your Prime in browser. No, I think there's ways of doing it on mobile. People have come over and done it, I'm pretty sure. I think there's more steps involved or something. So. So, sorry, Hilly, they extended the stream. We got 14 minutes left still. You do it on mobile, easy on mobile. Yeah, there's people right there saying you can do it on mobile. I did it on the app, but I had to link everything with the browser. Oh, like the initial setup? If you guys haven't hit the like button yet, try to get us to 300 likes. That would be really, really helpful. People do watch these streams later, and that does help us out. So thank you to everybody who has already done that. And a single gift that comes in from Mr. Grimm. Thank you so much. Gets us to 131. Every 5 extends, so you guys can add to that with Mr. Grimm. Just got here very late. Quick recap on what happened in Destiny. It's in a terrible place. Player count's probably the lowest it's ever been, and we reacted to an Astrocross video where he was like reading through a very poorly written blog post that was trying to blame PlayStation for the situation. And I mean, I just pulled up the facts and I pulled up the articles and I cited the evidence and the reality. It has nothing to do with PlayStation. That was pretty much it. You can go back to, it's very early in the stream. I kind of pulled up and reacted to the video earlier than typical. I usually wait to do that kind of thing, but people were here. I was like, let's do it now. Let's get to work. It was a good show. Highly recommend going back and watching. I appreciate that, Zinthos. I really do. I feel like the vibes of the show have been really good. We're getting, a lot of positive feedback. A lot of comments are getting left, in the Discord as well as on live past broadcasts, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody who's been, watching that Arc Raiders PvE video. Somebody, another creator, even reacted to it. It was very kind. So I went and thanked him for that. I appreciate when people react to the content and are nice and not toxic. It's a breath of fresh air. I've had Prime since it was first available in Canada, but I've never bothered with anything other than Prime Video, music, and free shipping. It's weird, though. 8 a.m. my time when the Prime is ready to be renewed. It won't let me do it until 11 a.m. Yeah, sometimes it just takes a second for that stuff to resolve. like server side. I like the reacting because we get your someone else's opinion plus yours. Yeah, I'd like to do more of it. It's enjoyable, but it's just one of those things where it's like I don't want to do it too much. It's also hard to find videos that I feel like, yeah, this is a good one to react to. Some of my fallbacks are, thank you, Unwound Automaton for 6 months. Let me add that to the total. There we go. 3 more extends the stream. Every 5 extends. Thank you so much, Unwound, for doing that. But it's just hard. Like, I kind of fall back to some of my, my people. It's like, I like Maddie's stuff. I like Laura Fryer's stuff. I watch Asmongold stuff, but Zach's always reacting to other stuff. So reactions to reactions is that's a little too meta. That's a little too on the nose. So it's hard sometimes to find stuff that I feel like, hey, this is a really, really good one that I want to react to. My homepage is just as screwed up as y'all's. Like I have a hard time finding stuff to watch these days. It's like it recommends really, really weird stuff, here and there, So my missus has never been into gaming, has now rolled credits on 2 games, and is halfway through the T-Lu PS5 remaster. I've just fallen in love all over again. She's seen Madam playing with you. Thank you. Hey, man. That's awesome. What's good, Mike on the mic? He's let this show. His last reaction was way out there. Wait, what are you talking about? What reaction are you speaking to? Which one in particular? I watched this one on men. It was really interesting. So there was this guy that sat down with Diary of CEO podcast, and he was talking about, the plight of men. And one of the things he talked about was belonging, thwarted belonging, and how that makes dudes like super, super mad, like thwarted belonging. And I was like, wow, that makes perfectly good sense of the behavior of people that I bounce from this community. One such person was bounced during Wrath of the Machine, which was 7 years ago. It was I think it was 2018, 2017 or something like that. No, it wouldn't have been 2018 or 2017. It would have been 2016. So 9 years ago, there was a guy that I kicked from the community because he was being, awful. And he spent those 9 years, just being obsessed. And then we also have the other, the other one on Twitter. And I'm like, oh, thwarted belonging. I get it now. Like, it makes perfectly good sense. It's like, they're not allowed to be a part of what we do. They get kicked out and they get really, really angry. It was actually a really good episode. It was a really good video. They're still on this Yote thing? Still? We're waiting for sales data. They've flattened. Selling 650,000 less than Tsushima? I don't know where are they getting that data? And I mean, Tsushima did launch during the pandemic. Everything got inflated sales then. That wouldn't make it a flop. 650,000 less? You think that's a flop? Really? It's not a failure. It's profitable. Sequels to first hits are expected to do more than the first, not less. That's not true at all. Horizon sold less than the first. Last of Us sold less than the first. I'm pretty sure Ragnarok sold less than the first. I have to check the Ragnarok claim. Generally, sequels don't outsell the first. It's really difficult to outsell the first. The first ones are, especially those titles. Those titles broke out and did crazy. Like Tsushima was a big surprise with how well it did. And again, when you launched in 2020, you had a significant advantage. Like ignoring that market advantage that would have increased sales, I just think that's just what you're dealing with. You're just dealing with people that aren't interested in facts, reality, and nuance. They're interested in being liars. 30 million more. Yeah, the saturation of the console was greater. Like I'm surprised they don't just let that one go. The whole narrative that like everybody's moved on from Yote, even the haters. It's like I thought they were just going to run with that. That like it's not relevant, so we're not talking about it because they got it wrong. They lost that fight handedly. It's going to flop. It's going to fail. It crushed. I think even last week or the most recent sales, the most recent user reports, it was in the top 15 still of people playing games in a given week. It was in like 12th place. It's like it's still up there after all this time. I'm like I don't know. I'm surprised you guys didn't just let this one go. Usually when you guys miss that hard, you just move on and talk about something else. That's typically what they do. Ghost is a new IP. Yeah, I know. Any chat about Outer Worlds 2 not selling? I don't know why anybody would care to report on that. Did anybody expect it to sell like crazy? It's on Game Pass and it's not they didn't market it that much. I mean, the marketing was certainly there, but I don't think anybody expected that game to sell like crazy. PlayStation's Quarter 2 report is November 11th in Japan, so late day November 10th here. Okay. God of War 2018 sold 23 million copies. Ragnarok sold 15 in half the time. Supposedly the fastest selling game. Okay, so Ragnarok did sell better. Generally speaking, the sequels haven't sold as well as the first. Like Horizon didn't sell as well as the first. Last of Us didn't sell as well as the first. And I know they'll claim woke, but that's not why those games didn't sell as well as the first. They generally are in a different time period, and sometimes they're in a different hemisphere. Also, Last of Us Part 1 had a huge advantage. It had been released like multiple times across multiple generations of the console, so it had a huge advantage in quantity of sales. And then, yeah, I fought Tekizo the Unrivaled. Yeah, I beat him. I was getting really frustrated, and then I changed my armor so that the cold didn't hurt me. I kept getting him really close, and then he'd hit me once and I'd be dead because your health bar shrinks because of the cold. Once I put the armor on where the cold didn't affect me, I beat him like my third try. I almost got in my first try with that armor on. I was so impressed. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm playing so much better because I wasn't freezing and losing health. I'd always assume the sequel starts off hotter. It's the long tail. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's probably true. Like, initial sales are always going to be stronger. But, like, did Spider-Man 2 sell faster than Spider-Man 1? It might have, but then Spider-Man 1 probably sold more copies because, again, it has multiple releases and it's got releases across multiple generations. So, like, whenever you make those comparisons, you've got to understand what you're comparing. Like, if a sequel is limited to one console, especially like Spider-Man 2 is limited to the PS5, Spider-Man 2 has an advantage of being... Spider-Man 1 has an advantage of being on PS4, and then they did the remaster release on PS5 as well as PC. Horizon sold 19 million on PS4 with an additional 2.5 million on PC. Forbidden West sold 8.4 million in 2022 per year. It's comparable, but most interest is definitely front-loaded. Yeah, I don't... nothing that's happening with Yote is shocking. It sold really well. It charted. They all claim that it didn't. Like, they just... The goalposts never stay put with those guys. They never stay put. It's a flop, it's a failure. And then when it's not a flop and a failure, they have to be like, oh, it didn't sell as well as Tsushima in the opening weeks. It's like... It's a game of Calvin ball. They just make up the rules along the way so that they can always be right. It's like they're ever-present moving goalposts of like... Well, we said it was going to fail and flop. We said go woke, go broke. That clearly didn't happen. It charted and sold well. It made more than enough money for the size of the budget. Well, since it charted and since it did well, now we have to be like, well, let's compare it to a game that released during the pandemic. Like, on a larger platform, mind you. Like at that point in time, there were way more PS4s in circulations than there currently are PS5s. So like you had a larger platform to sell to during the pandemic, where virtually every game benefited. Oh, we got 40 seconds left. I wasn't watching. All right, we're going to green room in 30 seconds, unless somebody saves your bacon. %16 less units is made up by 16% plus more revenue. It'll make more money than Tsushima. Yeah, assuming those numbers are correct. Yeah, exactly. Oh, for frick's sake, Flyers with the 20 bomb with 10 seconds left. Boom. And he gets us to 152. And that means I owe you guys, what do we do here? I'm just going to round it up. I'm going to give you 9 minutes. I think that would have been like 8 minutes, right? And boom, he just extended the stream. You madman, Flyers. Absolute madman. I owe Purple a member. I owe you a member for hitting the milestone of 150. You the man. It literally was 20 seconds left. And Stone Spire is going to gift one as well. Now that adds to Mr. Grimm as well as Unwound. So that's 3. So 2 more singles would add. Thank you very, very much. Yo, what's good, Cheat Code? How are you? Thank you again, Flyers. And there's another one from Stone Spire. Spider Lily armor mission is Chef's Kiss. So good. So good. And another one comes in from Stone Spire. We're at 155. That adds 2 more minutes to the timer. Let me do that. Sorry, Hilly. You're going to have to wait a little bit longer for Green Room. Have you tried Escape from Duck-Off? I have not. 9th for Yote. Well, no, it was last week. It was 9th, Wilbur. Now it's 12th. It's still in the top 15. That's what I'm saying. Like October the 25th. Right? So, okay. Okay, so October the 2nd. Okay, so October the 2nd. So 1, 2, 3. 3 weeks after the game came out, it's still in the top 15 most played games on PlayStation. 3 weeks after a single player game comes out, it's in 12th place. Like, man, just these people just need to shut the frick up. Like, the game was successful. It did fine. Arguably, it did well. Like, I don't know why. Huge promotion today. God's good, says Dark Taco. Excited to give back. Hey, that is very kind of you, Dark Taco. Thank you for the $10 super chat. You the man, dude. Congrats on the promotion, too, man. What a good time of the year to get one right before the holidays, dude. That's a blessing. That is a blessing. These people don't like games. Just move on. You got it wrong. You got it wrong, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. They were wrong about Split Fiction. They were wrong about the Monster Hunter. They were wrong about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. They were wrong about AC Shadows. They were wrong about Yote. What do you want me to say? You're in the business of being wrong about games apparently flopping because they did things you didn't like. I mean, that's your brands now. Congrats. The only people that believe you are not paying attention to the facts, I guess. Tenor dude with 50 months in a VIP. When are we allowed to talk ending of Yote? Been wanting to get your thoughts on a couple of decisions they made on the ending. Thank you so much. Let me add you to the total. I usually make people wait a month. It's been a month, so it's probably better to discuss it in the Discord, though. There's probably still people that haven't finished it. I've told you guys this before about Ghost of Yote. There was absolutely nothing woke in the game for them to clip and throw on Twitter. They were so angry about that and so frustrated because that's their currency, is to put that stuff on Twitter and farm Twitter blue money. Like, they'll get millions of views on like a cringy, scene from Veilguard. There was nothing like that in Yote, so they had to lie. They had a screenshot about the end of the game where they claimed that Atsu entered into a relationship with somebody, which if they actually played the game and they knew the story, they would know that that's incredibly gross because the person that they're claiming she's in a relationship is like twice her age. Like, Atsu was a kid when she first interacted with this person. Like, but they don't care about what's true, so they just circulated a lie about the ending of Yotei, because there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. There wasn't a clip, there wasn't a line, there wasn't a scene they could circulate on Twitter to be like, look how cringy and woke this is. So they literally had to lie about the game. Their willingness to lie speaks to their character. It speaks to their integrity. They are willing to lie. They don't hesitate. It doesn't bother them at all. They don't fact check. They don't investigate. They're just like, oh, this will work. This will make everybody angry. I'm going to run with this. Like, anybody who is that willing to tell the public things that aren't true isn't worthy of your respect or your engagement. They're not. They're lacking in character, integrity. They don't care about the truth. I think that if people would just mute, if everybody just muted them and moved on, their engagement would start to plummet. Like, their engagement only works because people correct them and yell at them and scream at them. Half of their engagement are people that should just mute them. If everybody was just like, yeah, just mute them and move on, their engagement would plummet. You know, that's the way to do it. You know, and then if you want to speak to it, speak to it. But like, I would never pull up their content and react to it. I would never do that. I would never give it the time of day. I'll speak to it. I'll call it what it is so that the public continues to get more informed. Like, the greatest fear for them is that people that consume their content wake up one day and actually research the topic and realize they're being lied to. Like, imagine that fear. Like, your relevancy is dangling by a thread. You're like praying that nobody that supports you or watches your content takes like 5 minutes to research something. Because if they do, they're gonna know that you're a liar and they're not gonna support you anymore. That's got to be a terrible way to live. Thank you for 7 months, Grubby. Let me add to the total. Like, what a terrible way to live and make content that you're like, you're deep down, you're terrified. You're like, if anybody actually looks into this. So what do you have to do? You have to constantly run with conspiracy theories and accuse people of being shills and accuse people of pushing propaganda. That's the only way you're going to convince people to continue to believe you. It's a treadmill of dishonesty. Verbal Stampede, thank you for 7 months as well. Let me add you to the total. 2 more and I extend the stream. Every 5 we're extending. Thank you so much. Jiminy Christmas. I thought for sure they were letting go of the Yotei thing. I thought they were just going to be like, yeah, we lost that one. Just claim that no one cares about it now. And a member plus from Nectian. Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. I've argued that right now some content creators are speedrunning their own demise. The currency of content creation is trust and valuable information, and more we are seeing people... Right, they're basically building their house on the sand. They're building their house on the sand, is what they're doing. Like, Nectian or Connection? Oh, that's Connection, I'm sorry. Thank you, Connection, for 24 months and Member Plus. Thank you for that correction, Patrick. The Witcher Season 4, a shocking 18% Rotten Tomatoes score. Oh, yeah, what a shocking score when you change the... you change the lead act. What? They say, wow, I can't believe that happened. What a shocking development. I don't know why they didn't just cancel the show. If you ain't going to go with Henry Cavill, just cancel it. What are we doing? That was remarkable decision making. Remarkable. Hold up. The currency of content creation is attention, full stop. Only some of us are here looking for truth and information. Many people just want to feel better about themselves. Well, here's the thing about that, Zubair, is attention will leave if trust is broken. Like, if I started doing that right now, I could make that content, it'd be as easy as breathing for me. It would be super easy. Raised conservative, 2 degrees from seminary, right? Like, white guy with a beard. Homie, I could sit in this chair. It'd be as easy as breathing to make that drivel. And I'd get so many views from it. But eventually people would realize he compromised on his morals, his integrity. It's not honest. He's saying things that aren't true. And eventually the attention will evaporate. It'll evaporate. You're filling a swimming pool with fog. It's like, yeah, it looks full, but it ain't full. It's going to leave real quick. All you need is the cultural winds to shift, and that fog's going to lift, and people are like, there's nothing here. All right, we got 1 minute left. 1 minute left. We only need a single member right now to bump it. 160 would bump it. We got a minute left. We're going to green room, unless you guys extend. A single would do it. It'd buy you some time. You'd lose this audience, but there would be another one. That's what I'm saying. Even that audience, though, Zubair, is eventually... Like, all it's going to take, honestly, it doesn't even need them to wake up to the truth. The cultural winds are going to shift. They're going to care about something else, and then what are you going to do? I don't know. I think you can only scream for so long about the whole woke thing. I just think that train's going to run out of gas. I think it's going to run out of gas real quick. Fortunately for us, we have more money than that audience. All right, it's the final countdown, 15 seconds. Oh, there it is. Insert message here. Hellfire buys you guys some time with his renewal. There it is. Boom, boom. 2 minutes. A little stay of execution. 160. Thank you so much. Mr. Hellfire, 36 months and a member plus. Insert message here. Thank you, sir. At some point, they're going to want to play games again. Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that that conversation will just move on to other things. It'll move on to like whatever the next thing is. All right. The sands of time ever slowly drip through the hourglass. The cultural winds will change, and you'll have to have something new to be passionate about. You know? Truth endures. It just does. Like if you're firmly planted in truth and that's what you base your coverage and your content off of, that doesn't expire. Like in 6 months, you're not like, oh, that was a crap video or a crap stream. You know what I mean? It's like, now predictions you can get wrong, but like as far as reporting goes, like telling people this happened or that happened. Like I could predict that Marvel Tokone Fighting Souls is going to be very successful. That could end up not happening. But that's in a category of prediction. That's not in a category of like objective truth delivery. Yeah, that is their game. That's exactly right, Omar. All right, 30 seconds. Final countdown. We will see if anybody saves your bacon one more time. And if you're not in the Discord, use the Discord command. You can use the link below to get into the Discord. That is where we do Green Room now. We don't do it on a stream. It's become very difficult to make members content, so we've had to kind of restructure how it's delivered. I still deliver the content. I've just had to make adjustments because of how they treat the members-only content. All right, 4, 3, 2, and 1. There we go. Okay. And I am low latency on YouTube now, so you guys should not get screwed by the the stream delay. That should not be a factor anymore. I've switched back to low latency for YouTube. So Truth Indoors sounds like an interesting podcast. Truth Indoors. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Use that Discord command. If you are a sub, a gifted sub, a member, a gifted member on either platform, you have full access to the Discord. All right, get plugged in. You won't miss streams. You're not gonna miss notifications and things like that. Everybody's been belly aching. They're like, I'm not getting noties, and you're not on my homepage. Listen. I hate that as much as you do. The solution is the Discord. Okay. Thank you guys for a great day. And listen, if you don't come with us, if you don't come with us and you want something to watch, you can check out the Arc Raiders video. All right, there's a link in chat to the Arc Raiders video. You want something to watch? If you haven't watched it yet, give it a watch, give it a like, give it a comment, and we will see you guys tomorrow. All right, thanks so much. Take care, and I'll see the rest of you in the Discord.